being held by Siwoo was a crisis in itself. Every time my small hand disappeared into Siwoo's large one, I had the illusion that my entire body was being enveloped by him. Even if I tried to pull away, I couldn't. The difference in strength was obvious. Trapped like that, all sorts of thoughts ran through my mind. What if Siwoo really couldn't hold back later? Would I be able to stop him with my own strength? The defensive walls I had built crumbled like wet sand, and the invader would easily kidnap the princess and take her away. It's better than the previous one. Would have been even better with fewer of those damn ninjas. Why yeah. Shall we go now? Yeah. Let's go. When I came to my senses, the movie had ended and the theater was brightly lit. The audience that had filled the seats was leaving one by one. Come to think of it, Baek Chunga was sitting next to me. I was so focused on defusing the bomb that I didn't have time to worry about Baek Chunga sitting beside me. As I slipped my feet back into my heels, I glanced at the seat next to me. It was empty. Being in the last row, she might have left early. Did Chunga leave? She left before it ended. Really? Well, it seems like we succeeded in getting rid of her. Tomorrow will probably be the real challenge. Fortunately, I won't have to kiss him yet. Don't be disappointed. It's something that will happen someday. Don't be impatient, Min Ki-won. I'll check things out when I go for my lesson with the professor. You'll probably have to deal with all of Baek Chunga's frustration. I guess so. Tap, tap. After tapping the toe of my heel on the floor to make sure they were on properly, I stood up. Siwoo reached out his hand to me again. Hand. I'm not a dog, you know. You can't treat me the same way you treat Strelka, young Siwoo. It's fine. Baek Chunga isn't even here, so there's no need. As I shook my head and tried to exit into the hallway, he suddenly grabbed my hand. Startled, I turned my head and he spoke hesitantly. But we're a couple. Even if it's a contract. I had been so preoccupied with defusing the bomb that I barely managed to hold on to my sanity and tried to run to the stairs, but Siwoo was too strong. In the end, my wrist twisted slightly. Oh, sorry. Siwoo was startled and closed the distance between us. I'm sorry. You should have followed when I pulled. It was my fault. It was a mistake I made trying to escape while rejecting Siwoo. But why are you apologizing for that too? Making me look like the weird one. My wrist wasn't seriously injured, just a bit sore, so instead of nursing it, I grabbed Siwoo's hand. I've done enough. Throughout the movie, while dealing with the bomb, I had been working to strengthen the durability of the powder magazine. Humans are truly amazing. Just like how we exert superhuman strength when a deadline approaches, I surpassed human limits when faced with an imminent crisis. I dealt with the bomb and even installed a conveyor belt in the process. Now I don't even need to throw it directly. Just place it on the high-speed conveyor and it will fly away on its own. Come on, young Siwoo. I can hold your hand now without feeling anything at all. Is your wrist okay? Holding hands was fine, but I couldn't bear it when he tickled my wrist, pretending to soothe it with his fingers. Boom! A huge hole was blown in the powder magazine. Not because something exploded inside, but because too much was pouring in through the import hole for it to handle. Worse, it was catching fire and having its pins pulled as it poured in. It was chaos. Don't touch like that, huh? Touch what? Don't touch like that. How did I manage to upgrade the facility successfully? And now he's destroying it all again. Stop it, you terrorist. Like this. Don't touch like this. A spider is crawling up from my wrist. A tiny spider, step by step, very gently climbing up my skin. The ticklish footsteps become larger as they move away from my wrist. By the time it reaches my neck, it has transformed into goosebumps, making my body shiver. Eek! I jumped in surprise, shook off my wrist, and started running toward the exit. Hey, you'll fall. Young Siwoo is trying to kill me. Everyone, this guy is a bad guy. I ran down the wide, shallow steps quickly, and then thud. Oh, I collided with someone entering from the exit and fell flat on the theater's carpet. T1, are you okay? Siwoo rushed over and helped me up, looking toward the exit. There was a girl lying spread-eagled there. Bright blonde hair with permed ends. It was unmistakably Beak Chinga. Chinga raised her upper body like a zombie, saw me being supported by Siwoo, and glared at me. Then, with an indignant expression, she jumped up and strode over to us. Appa, you like this woman? Beak Chinga asked Siwoo. Yeah, Siwoo answered coldly. The conversation lacked any warmth, making me wonder if I had ever been that cold to Beak Chinga. You'll never like me. Chinga's tightly clenched hands trembled. Siwoo's gaze turned to me. His calm expression seemed to say, leave this to me. I nodded. After all, Siwoo would be better at delivering the final blow than I would. If we let this slide ambiguously, I'd have to suffer again tomorrow when I go to tutor her. You're my precious little sister. Young Siwoo began driving a nail into Beak Chinga's heart. Because you're family, I care about you that much. But you're not someone I can date. The nail went deep, deep into the heart of the 15-year-old girl who didn't yet fully understand love. So firmly that it could never be pulled out. I see Chinga hung her head and drip, drip. She left dark wet marks on the dry carpet. For a while, we were silent. Only the passing time filled the silence. Her clenched right hand quickly wiped her eyes, which were hidden by her bangs. Droplets fell, and soon Chinga raised her head, her face bright red. Sorry for interrupting your date. Anai, I'm sorry. She bowed to me in apology, then turned and ran down the corridor connected to the exit as if escaping. I just stared blankly at where she had gone. To think I'd receive an apology from Beak Chinga. Tomorrow, will the sun and moon rise together from the south, holding hands? Are you okay? I slowly got up. I was so dazed that I forgot Siwoo was still holding my hand. I'm fine, but is this really over? Siwoo muttered with a regretful expression. If I knew it would end this easily, I should have gone for a kiss. Hey. The precious Appa, who seemed like he would always be by her side, had left a huge hole in Beak Chinga's heart and disappeared. Letting him go like this, they probably wouldn't meet again. He had moved out to live on his own, and now Min Ki-won was taking over his tutoring, so even the pretext for meeting was gone. At least Professor Beak Yunin called Siwoo to his home every Saturday for lessons, but could they really talk properly face to face? It would be much easier to just pretend not to see each other and pass by. I look like shit. After fleeing from the theater, she had cried alone in the bathroom for a long time. That's why her eyes were so swollen, making her look terrible. Beak Chinga cooled her face with cold water and shouted loudly. Ah, young Siwoo, you bastard. Startled customers whispered as they passed behind Chinga, but she didn't care. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Why did she feel so relieved? Because she had ruined everything? Or because she had finally let go of the lingering attachment she had carried for over 15 years? What's the big deal about being rejected anyway? Perhaps Beak Chinga had been waiting for someone. Someone like Min Ki-won, who would suddenly appear, take young Siwoo away, and open Beak Chinga's eyes. After grinning at herself in the mirror, Beak Chinga flipped her wet bangs back refreshingly. After wiping her face with a paper towel and leaving the bathroom, a man who had been waiting until this late hour handed her a business card. Feeling better now? Beak Chinga took the card that read KJ Entertainment and asked Kwon Hangil with a surprised expression. I thought you were a casting manager for Diabo Entertainment. Kwon Hangil burst into laughter, coughed for a while, and finally answered. Come on, Chinga. Do I need to sugarcoat everything? Chapter 87. The last tutoring session. I thought she wouldn't want to see my face after giving up on Siwoo. Hello, Anai. When I went to the professor's house as usual since there was no instruction not to come, surprisingly, Beek Chinga was waiting for me in the living room. Oh, hi. This situation actually makes it more awkward for me to deal with Beek Chinga. I thought she would avoid me first, but I never dreamed she would actively request a conversation like this. But even though the conversation had started, Beek Chinga didn't turn her head toward me. She just kept staring straight ahead at the TV. Thinking she might want me to come to the opposite side, I moved, but as I moved, her head turned in the opposite direction. What's going on? Do you dislike me that much? Well, I guess you have reason to. No matter how much of a disobedient gorilla Beek Chinga might be, she's still a precious little sister I grew up with. Even though we weren't born from the same parents, we've lived supporting and comforting each other under our busy professor parents. So when she shows this completely sullen appearance, I can't help but worry. That's not it. Then why are you turning your head like that? Somehow her neck is twisted like a ghost from a horror movie. Concerned, I approached Beek Chinga and quickly met her gaze. Ugh. I was startled by her swollen face and fled back to my seat across from her. Did she cry all night? How else could someone change like that? When I didn't react much after seeing her face, Beek Chinga let out a long sigh and slowly opened her mouth. Today, I just called you to talk. You don't need to tutor me anymore. Huh? Really? Yes. From now on, I'm going to learn from Dad. Dad said it's okay. No matter how busy he was, the professor wasn't the type of father to neglect his family to the point of refusing his daughter's request. If that's the reason, there's no particular problem with me quitting the tutoring. Sure. Well, it's good for me to have more free time then. Do you know why I accepted your tutoring? Her mom told me that brother Siwoo likes your playing. So I thought I'd steal your playing style to get his attention. I knew that. But well, before I could even try anything, this happened. I guess if I could have changed his heart with piano, I would have won him over long ago while living together. I thought she would say something like, after you break up, brother Siwoo will be mine. Even after losing the love war with me. The kid suddenly became an adult. No, beyond an adult, she became like a monk who has reached nirvana. So now I'll just keep piano as a hobby. It wasn't fun anyway. As soon as I heard those words, I unconsciously channeled young Siwoo and muttered. It wasn't fun? Honestly, I started playing because I wanted to see brother Siwoo often. I never intended to get this good at it. I almost blurted out. Shouldn't you be thankful to the professor for passing down good genes? I need to calm down. She's only 15, and just because she has talent in piano playing doesn't mean she must become a pianist. Genius may be chosen, but a career shouldn't be chosen based on talent alone. Honestly, I wanted to be an actor more than a performer. An actor. I found myself somewhat sympathizing with Beek Chinga's story. She rarely hides her inner feelings and thus knows how to express rich emotions. Of course, I've only seen her looking indignant, wronged, angry, so it's hard for me to wholeheartedly wish for her success. Can you show me a bit of your acting? Andy, why wouldn't I want to see that? I haven't even shown it to Appa yet. Still, I'm curious. Eventually, if I marry Siwoo, Beek Chinga will become my sister-in-law. They may not be blood siblings, but she is indeed the little sister I've acknowledged. Why did I just think about the future after marriage? Min Ki-won, is that you again? Ha. Fine. It doesn't seem like you two will break up easily anyway. Appa will probably come to introduce you to me again, all happy. You'll end up seeing it later anyway, so I'll just show you now. That's Beek Chinga for you. She knows young Siwoo too well. Clearing her throat, Beek Chinga surprised me with a voice I'd never heard before. Anai, I think you're misunderstanding something. Huh, what? Did you think I'd give up just like this? No way. I can never give up on our Appa. I'll follow him to the ends of hell. I'll keep following you and annoying you until you get tired and give up. You underestimated me. A flood of lines that seemed straight out of some drama. She did say she watches dramas with mom when bored, so I guess that was true. But more importantly, no matter how perfect her acting is, it's a bit off-putting with that swollen face. PFFD. Why are you laughing? No, it's just your face is funny. Hee hee. I tried to hold it in but eventually burst out laughing. Beek Chinda rushed over and repeatedly hit my shoulder with her palm. Ah, ouch. Don't laugh. Whose fault do you think it is that I'm like this? After huffing and puffing for quite a while, Beek Chinga finally stopped her light violence when my shoulder started to feel numb and returned to her seat. Huh. Anyway, you asked me to show you, so I did. Don't ask for more. Looking at Beek Chinda with her sullen face and protruding lips, I feel guilty for perhaps being too harsh. I hate to say this about myself, but I'm too kind for my own good. The fact that I feel sorry for someone who tormented me so much, rather than being happy she's out of the way. All right. But your acting was good. Right? You admit it too, don't you? Yes. I really hope things go well for you. Seemingly embarrassed, Beek Chinga blushed and slightly raised the corners of her mouth. Now that we're done talking, please go home. No. I want to eat before I go. Is my mom your maid? Go quickly. Beek Chinga. With what should have been a dramatic sound effect, the madam appeared stealthily. With the right background music, it would have been a perfect final boss entrance, so naturally did she blend in. Oh my mom, I told you not to appear from behind like that. What kind of manners are those, telling a guest to just leave? What guesto? Thunk. A strong flick on the forehead knocked Beek Chinga down. Leaving Beek Chinga collapsed on the sofa, the madam approached me with a friendly smile. Stay for dinner. Why should the teacher suffer because of that girl's whims? Eek. Beek Chinga ran to her mother and vigorously massaged her back with soft punches. Mom, you're mean. Really mean. Don't act like a child in front of the teacher. Ah. With her eyes already swollen and her cheeks puffed up too, she looks just like a pufferfish. She's a cute kid. If she had purely acted like a little sister, I would have loved her forever. Even though I call her a gorilla, it was only behavior stemming from misguided affection. Your parents don't oppose you acting? When I asked Beek Chinga, who had followed her mother to the kitchen and returned to the living room grumbling, she lay down horizontally on the sofa with her chin arrogantly raised. Oppose? They actually said I did well. They said you did well. Yes. They said they didn't want to create another music-obsessed person like Appa. I suppose the professor would say something like that. But I didn't expect the madam to think the same. Mom's childhood dream was to be an actress, you know. But her family situation wasn't very good back then. So she gave up her dream and became a university professor as her parents wished. Still unable to give up on art, after entering university, she would visit the music department when bored or attend concerts. Meeting the professor and getting married was also due to a fateful encounter. Indeed, I think if the madam had entered the entertainment industry, she would have been very successful. Even now, she's famous for her beauty at the university where she works. When I said I wanted to be an actor, they told me to do my best. They said I'd succeed if I worked hard at anything. As expected, they're always good parents. My parents passed away when I was very young, so I only heard about what kind of people they were from the professor. I'm not sure, but I think this is what your parents would have done. That's what my wife and I thought as we raised you. They were really good people from the way they talk about them. I don't think they were very different from the current professor couple. They always apologized for not being able to treat me well enough, but I think they did an amazing job just raising me to this point. So, the audition? When is it? Even when Song Seong-hyuk won the competition, I felt proud despite not being close to him. Rather than Beek Chinga clinging to a piano she doesn't enjoy, I'd be quite fulfilled if she became a famous actress loved by fans. It would feel like this young soul, once obsessed with young Siwoo, has grown admirably. I'm going next week. That soon? Beek Chinga proudly handed me a business card. It was definitely the same card I saw at the cafe yesterday while waiting for Siwoo. Despite appearances, I've been street-cast before, you know. Unlike Andy Anai, I'm still firm. I snorted and casually pulled out a business card from my wallet. This person made me an offer too, you know. Beek Chinga's wide eyes were followed by a barrage of soft punches on my back. Ugh, what am I supposed to do about that? What am I supposed to do? Chapter 88, licking only the steak sauce and throwing the rest away after finishing their meal, Beek Chinga collapsed on the living room sofa, seemingly relieved of tension, and fell fast asleep. This kid claims to want to be an actor, but look how careless he is. Haha, just leave him be. He must be tired. I pulled down Chinga's t-shirt, which had ridden up exposing his stomach, and covered him properly. The madam turned to face me and spoke. I don't know if it's just me being strange, but whenever I look at Kiwon, I have this thought. What thought? That if Siwoo had been a girl, she would be just like you. I was so startled I almost fell backward. I should have sat on the side with the backrest. I suppose it means you two are well matched, but I feel there's something beyond that. Her intuition is too good. I wasn't hoping she'd notice things like this. When we were young we lived together for about half a year. Maybe that's why. Oh my. Really? You're truly meant for each other then, Tilda. We were very young, I barely remember it. The madam placed her hand on her chest, smiling warmly. Still, whatever happened, I feel relieved that Siwoo has finally met a decent girl. With an embarrassed expression, I quietly listened to her words. I thought Siwoo would live his entire life keeping women at a distance. Really? Yes, really. I didn't want to know this, but there were quite a few girls who liked him, and he was completely oblivious. They would even come to our house. Is that true? Really? When was it? I remember it was around Christmas. 3 girls came together and left presents. I remember now. I told him there were gifts and left them in his room for him to open later, but days passed, and the packaging remained untouched. The truth is, I didn't have time to open them. I had performed my most confident pieces at a recital, but I was so nervous about the small audience that I made several minor touch mistakes. The audience probably didn't notice much, but for me as the performer, those mistakes felt fatal. Unable to bear it, as soon as I got home, I frantically practiced the pieces over and over to eliminate the errors. How could I possibly remember anything about gifts? Later, the girls came back asking if I had delivered their presents. I couldn't bring myself to say Siwoo hadn't opened them, so I made up an excuse that I had mistakenly left them in my daughter's room. That explains why Chinga was suddenly excited about receiving New Year's gifts. So it was all my fault. I wonder where those 3 people are now and what they're doing. I can't even properly remember their faces or names to apologize. How did I end up talking about this? Right. Anyway, the madam carefully took my hands, which were neatly placed on my knees. Siwoo isn't my biological son. You know that, right? Yes, but I've raised him like my own son, so I know very well what state he's in and what kind of woman he needs. Young Siwoo had intended to make the piano his life companion and keep running until death. The madam was deeply concerned about his lonely later years. I'm not asking you to stay with Siwoo until death. You're both still young. It's an age when you can have various relationships. You could meet different people. But if there's one thing I hope for, I want you to be his sanctuary. That's the only thing he's never had. Yes, I'll try my best. To me, the madam was my second greatest benefactor after the professor. That's why I couldn't fulfill her wish to be a real mother to me. I thought it would be disrespectful to act spoiled as a biological child might. I believed the only way to repay her kindness was to grow up quickly, become an adult, get a proper job, and then show my gratitude. That's why I must have always seemed like someone without leisure. How anxious she must have been. It must have felt like watching a child who hadn't fully grown up working in a dangerous factory with tiny hands, claiming they would earn money. Perhaps now I'm excellently fulfilling the role of the ideal girlfriend the madam wants. I can confidently say I'm about 50% there. When young Siwoo said he preferred spending time with me over playing the piano, and that he would continue to do so, my heart sank and the world burned hot around me. But with time, I realized this was a massive transformation for young Siwoo. He was growing. From a madman who would keep playing the piano even as it floated away in a flood, he had become a human who knew to seek shelter during a flood. Of course, with the prerequisite that he would definitely take Min Ki-won with him. But isn't seeking shelter already something? Keep fighting. And if Siwoo ever does something strange, feel free to come ask me. This Andy doesn't know everything, but I'll do my best to help however I can. Feeling like I'd gained a powerful ally, I stood up and bowed deeply. And then, a small revenge I couldn't carry out before because she was my benefactor's daughter. On behalf of young Siwoo, I flicked the forehead of the sprawling, sleeping-beaked Shinga. ******. 3 weeks passed. Nothing special happened during that time. Young Siwoo occasionally showed attempts to bleach his dark performances, but there wasn't much progress. It felt like an engine sputtering, trying to start, and I wanted to figure out if there was a pattern. But being with him made it hard to think about anything else, so I gave up. I wished he would just focus on playing, but he kept flirting, which was problematic. I thought I was confident in tutoring young Siwoo, but Alpha Siwoo was difficult. Whether it had become a habit to tease people when bored, or he just enjoyed seeing me startled when he suddenly took my hand, young Siwoo would subtly hold my hand, touch my cheek, massage my shoulders, and never leave my side. Each time, I was dying inside. I lived in constant anxiety, like sitting on a powder keg that could explode at any moment. It was fortunate that I had adapted to his pace and could endure. Otherwise, I would have already made my move long ago. It's becoming increasingly difficult to suppress the Min Ki-won inside me. I'm barely holding back her rampage, and young Siwoo is encouraging her, making it hard to resist. But I couldn't distance myself from young Siwoo. As I said before, the explosive builds up when Siwoo is too close, but conversely, it accumulates even faster when he's far away. The only option was to maintain a moderately close distance while I performed my explosive disposal mad movie. Anyway, while I was walking this tightrope with Siwoo, my revenge against Yoon Ji-yu was also steadily progressing. Well, calling it revenge is a stretch. My first goal was actually to become close enough to give her my liver and gallbladder if needed, so all I did was help with accompaniment and get along with her. See, congratulations. Thank you. Yoon Ji-yu hugged me so tightly I thought I might be crushed. The reason for her joy was that she had successfully passed the preliminary round of the Paganini violin competition, one of the highest-level competitions in the world. It's all thanks to you, Ki-won. What did I do? What do you mean? You kept helping with the accompaniment. It was really helpful. Of course it was helpful. One common mistake piano majors make when dragged in as accompanists is getting overheated, thinking, I'll pour all my passion into this accompaniment. But I didn't make that mistake at all. I simply provided accompaniment that complemented Yoon Ji-yu's performance. I had no intention of outshining her or showing off. Of course, I did my best in sections where the piano needed to shine. But since I played in young Siwoo's style, it probably wasn't much different from playing a recording found on the internet. Honestly, finding an accompanist is no small task. Everyone's busy with their own performances, so I can't force them to help. All I can do is cling to them saying, please help me. You're too good at clinging, that's the problem. And it seems too cold to say I'll pay you to play. It's nice to have schoolmates, right? That's just being shameless. It must be the result of poor home education. Anyway, I'm so grateful that you stepped up to help. You know, you understand how I feel, right? Yes, I tried to avoid Yoonji's burdensome gaze. Anyway, I have somewhere to take you today. Where? Where else? I want to properly thank you for your help. Though I'm not sure if it'll satisfy you, but let's go. Yoonji quickly moved her fingers and showed me the main page of a website. A VIP hotel restaurant. Eat as much as you want. It's all on me. They say the steak there is amazing. Honestly, how much could she spend at a cafe? So far, I'd only tasted the snacks she offered to buy. But a hotel buffet? I can't resist this. I'll order all kinds of expensive steaks and leave plenty behind. Instead of licking yogurt lids and throwing them away, it's time for my petty revenge of licking only the steak sauce and discarding the rest. Chapter 89. A world where there are only deceivers and no one being deceived. I've been to hotel restaurants about twice in my life, but the one I visited today had a buffet. Usually, when you think of a buffet, you imagine all the food arranged by section in a line, with people moving around like a conveyor belt, right? In slightly more upscale places, the chef's cooking area connects directly to the buffet hall, so freshly prepared dishes are immediately placed out. But the buffet for rich people was different in structure, perhaps because of its premium status. The buffet entrance fee only covered foods that didn't include main course dishes, and you had to pay extra for meat or fish dishes. You don't need to eat too much at the buffet. The real deal is da-da. Yoon-jae confidently opened the menu. It was filled with all kinds of steak and meat dishes, followed by assorted sashimi, omake sushi, and grilled fish. Eel, I must definitely have that. I feel like Siwoo should be the one eating this, not me. But I can treat him later. Today is my day, so I'll eat without hesitation. Tenderloin caviar dish. Let's go with the most expensive ones. 4 plates to start. After tasting each one, another 4 plates. That would easily hit $1,000,001 just for the main dishes. Well, it would be disappointing to just have food. Since Yoon-jae is an adult, should I suggest some alcohol? I can't drink, so I'll have a non-alcoholic mojito. Annie, would you like some wine? You can't drink, though. I can have a non-alcoholic mojito. Really? Even though the preliminary results weren't out yet, she seemed overflowing with confidence about making it to the finals. Yoon-jae happily accepted my suggestion. Well, it's been a while. Why not have a drink? It's a shame Ki-won can't drink. When do you become an adult? For alcohol they say next year. From January 1st when I turn 19. That's still so far away. Tilda, I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? Have you decided on your menu? With a slightly dazed expression, I flipped through the pages and selected 2 meat dishes and 2 fish dishes. Jae seemed momentarily speechless, perhaps worried whether we could eat it all. But soon, realizing we didn't have to finish everything, she smiled and said, as expected, our Ki-won has a different class. What? Oh, is it too much? Should I cancel some? No. There's no need. Someone like Ki-won should definitely eat like this. It's really okay. Don't feel burdened. I told you I'd pay for everything, right? If Yoon-jae truly didn't have money, there would be no reason to bring me here or order expensive wine. She was probably just surprised that someone who seemed frugal suddenly showed such appetite for food. I don't know how Yoon-jae imagined my family's financial principles, but as far as I know, Min Seok-hyun's family is quite frugal. They were a strange family that invested more money in the future of the music world than they spent on themselves. Even the money they invested in their daughter and Song Seong-hyuk was all justified under the excuse of nurturing future talent. The amount they put into their foundation was greater than what they spent on their daughter and adopted son, earning them the nickname laissez-faire parents among their musician acquaintances. Would you believe that they built a magnificent mansion and employed numerous staff simply to help children in need? In fact, most of the maids working with Gangwei in Korea were unfortunate girls my age, single mothers, orphans, and the like. How I found out was quite funny. Whenever I walked around the house, the maids would say thank you, miss, as if they had rehearsed it, so I asked what they were thanking me for. If it weren't for you, miss, it would have been hard to find a job like this at first. When they said maid, I thought of something suspicious, but when I saw it for myself, they were well fed 3 meals a day, the work wasn't too demanding, and the benefits including vacation and insurance were excellent. They said if there were no age limit, they would want to work there until they died, bowing repeatedly with tears in their eyes, which startled me so much I comforted them and practically fled back to my bedroom. Anyway, I was curious why Min Ki-won had assets worth 800 million won despite coming from such a family, so I did some research and quickly found the answer. That money was all voluntarily collected by musicians who succeeded after receiving support from the foundation, as a token of gratitude. You can spend it freely, but Miss Zero said you should at least know the cause and effect behind how the money was gathered, so I told you about it. Ki-won, who had been spending it freely thinking it was just allowance money, changed her approach after learning this and began using it only where necessary. She also decided to take over some of the money her parents had been investing in the Gangwei Cultural Foundation and started transferring small amounts from her account. And here I am, happily spending that money. Do I feel guilty? Not particularly. Except when buying things for Siwoo, I'm hardly spending my own money. It's purely an investment to nurture the future talent that is young Siwoo. And, surprisingly, Ki-won Yoon Jae-yu wasn't much different. You know me doing this buying things for you, isn't it burdensome? After emptying a bottle of wine, she sprawled across the table, completely drunk. Her words were slurring and stumbling. Seeing how comfortably you ordered food today, it doesn't seem like it. Hee hee. But still in her drunken state, she was overlapping me with her estranged younger sister, Jin Sebyok. She was trying to give me the sisterly love she hadn't been able to fully give to her. Your you know is too. I wonder why Mr. Yoon Guancheol decided to cancel Jin Sebyok's adoption. Did she do something so wrong that he had to make that decision? But if something like that had happened, Yoon Jae-yu and Yoon Jae-chang, who grew up believing they were blood siblings, would surely know. There must have been some issue known only to Mr. Yoon Guancheol and Jin Sebyok, already working on her. Be careful. She's not the first girl to fall for that method. She only approaches naive-looking girls like you. I can't tell if she's genuinely sad or using Jin Sebyok to manipulate me. I don't know if these are honest drunk confessions or just an act pretending to be honest drunk confessions. I'm just quietly observing without judgment. I should put her in a taxi and send her home. Let's go home. You're too drunk. Wait. Payment. We need to pay. Despite being completely drunk, Yoon Jae-yu took out her wallet from her handbag and precisely pulled out the right card. I was starting to doubt she was really drunk, but they say a person's homing instinct is truly remarkable, so I let it slide. After paying with the card Jae-yu handed me, I supported her with my arm around her shoulder and went down to the hotel lobby. As I sat in the lobby chair fiddling with my phone to call a taxi, Jae-yu mumbled, "You're trying to send me away." How did she know? I was planning to express ship her home. Don't do that. Let me stay here. She was pointing at the hotel concierge. She was suggesting that instead of going all the way back, we could just stay here. I thought her father was quite strict about managing his daughter. Is it really okay for her to suddenly stay out overnight like this? Won't your father dislike that? As I hesitated to answer, Yoon Jae-yu slapped the empty chair beside her and laughed loudly. He will. He probably will, but I like it, so who cares? Ahaha. They really are an incomprehensible father and daughter. Since it's come to this, should I use her drunkenness as an excuse to ask her some questions? Conveniently, I'm the same gender as Yoon Jae-yu. There's absolutely no problem with us staying at the hotel together. Even when I was young Siwoo, I had experience staying in a twin bedroom together, so it's nothing new. Alright. NNGH. Let's go up. Supporting Yoon Jae-yu wasn't particularly difficult. After all, I'm someone who casually walks a large recap without any trouble. Compared to that, handling a person who moves according to their own will, even while drunk, was much easier. Yay tilde you'll fall. This grown adult was hopping around like a child excited about a camping trip. Strangely, even though she seemed like she might slip, she never fell. As expected, she's not drunk at all. Her acting of being tipsy is truly impressive. It's amazing how someone like this can exist in the world. Hurrying after her, I found Yoon Jae-yu had already submitted her card to the concierge and was inquiring about a room. Judging by her smooth conversation with the hotel staff, it became even more certain that she was just pretending to be drunk. Yes, one person. No, I'll be staying too. The concierge staff, surprised by my sudden appearance, asked Yoon Jae-yu, "Is she with you?" Yes. She is. You're staying over?" I smiled brightly and wrapped my arm around Yoon Jae-yu's. "I'm worried about leaving you alone, me, acting like an angel, pure innocent girl. And Yoon Jae-yu, acting like an older sister who adores such a girl. I wonder which one of us will give up and back down first." Okay. Stay over. Chapter 90, A Woman with a Story. Having lived as Jeong Siwoo for 24 years, this is only the second time I've stayed in a hotel with a woman. And both times, that woman was Yoon Ji-yu. The reason was the same too. Yoon Ji-yu got drunk, and when I tried to send her home, she refused. The difference is that this time I offered to stay with her, whereas last time she was the one who told me to stay. No, thinking about it, there are a few more differences. Last time, Yoon Ji went into the bathroom first to shower, and I lay down on one of the beds without thinking and fell asleep. Right, there were 2 beds then. But today, there's only one queen-sized bed and Yoon Ji sent me to the bathroom first. Is this the difference between men and women? It's good I've already recognized myself as a woman. Otherwise, I would have spent a long time washing up in this situation. I quickly washed my body under the warm water, scrubbed my skin with foam, and cleaned every corner with body wash. Yikes, I need to be careful. Don't accidentally touch anything inappropriate. Kuu, when I came out, Yoon Ji was snoring away. She's really destroying her image right now. When she followed me as Jeong Siwoo, she never showed such an unguarded appearance. This must be some kind of strategy to make me lower my guard. I quietly approached and tapped Yoon Ji's shoulder. Perhaps feeling hot from the alcohol, she had thrown off her blouse and was only wearing a camisole. Annie. When there was no response after tapping her once or twice, I grabbed her shoulder and shook it. Arg! Her arm flew around me, and I collapsed onto the bed. When I came to my senses, I was wrapped tightly in the blanket and nestled in Yoon Ji's arms. Wow, her chest is right in front of my face. It's bigger than mine. She has a mole here too, not just under her eye. What am I excitedly observing right now? I should wake this woman up and find out what's going on. I lifted my head, using the king pudding I couldn't eat as a chin rest. Annie. Yoon Ji didn't answer my call. To check if she was really out cold, there was only one method left. With what little freedom my hands had, I poked Yoon Ji's side. Her body twitched and trembled. This time, I spread my fingers wide and wiggled them, just barely touching her skin. Thanks to her removing her blouse, the tickling would be more effective. Hit. Unable to bear it any longer, Yoon Ji pushed me away and rolled back. Haha. Hi. I knew you were awake. What? How did you know? Your drunkenness was an act, wasn't it? Yoon Ji sat up abruptly, rubbed her face, and knelt down beside me as I lay on my side. She glanced at me cautiously, wondering what she was up to. I stayed still, and she lifted my head onto her thigh. This is a pose that often appears in the animations Yoon Ji-chang recommended. Come to think of it, does that bastard know his taste in heroines disgustingly overlaps with his sister big-breasted, long-haired older women with a mole under their eye? That was Yoon Ji-chang's favorite heroine type. In the animations and comics he recommended, there were frequent lap pillow scenes like this, where the heroine's face would be hidden behind her chest when you rested your head on her thigh. In a way, it could be seen as his fantasies about his sister manifesting. Unable to receive the love he wanted, he expressed it in such a twisted way. Yes, I was lying. I wanted to sleep with you. Why? Yoon Ji-yu peeked her head over her chest that was blocking my view. Having dropped her drunken act, she wore a gentle smile. If I say it's because you remind me of my estranged sister, would you understand? Is this going to be a Dawn story? Let's see what emotionally manipulative tale she'll spin. Well, if that's the case, I twisted my body slightly to move to the side. It was to avoid her chest and look directly into Yoon Ji-yu's eyes. Being alone with a woman might have made my heart race, but the woman in question was Yoon Ji-yu, and her chest must be less soft than Ki-won's. I firmly held onto this unshakable premise that only I could imagine, standing my ground. With this mindset, I could probably withstand even if Yoon Ji tried to torture me by covering my face with her chest. Then I'll go wash up quickly. Let's talk a bit before sleeping. Okay. As I got up, Yoon Ji casually threw off the camisole she was wearing. Her proud chest appeared prominently, covered only by thin armor. They are big, but not as nice as Min Ki-won's and not as soft as Min Ki-won's. Yes, definitely. Ignoring Yoon Ji-yu, who was casually undressing in front of me, I headed to the refrigerator placed on one side. Had Yoon Ji-yu told me that drinks in hotel minibars and refrigerators are charged? But today is Yoon Ji-yu's treat. Hooray, there are plenty of drinks, juice and soda. Should I take one of each? Thanks. But Yoon Ji-yu quickly grabbed the orange juice I had taken out. Wondering if she was going to do something crazy like drink juice while showering, I stared blankly at her, and she really did take the juice into the bathroom. Is she planning to bathe with that? Of course, it's not that late, so I won't fall asleep soundly like before even if she takes an hour. I should probably turn on Netflix to pass the time. Should I have just one drink? No. I should resist. What good would come from pouring alcohol into a minor's body? I shouldn't forget how Gangwei scolded me for secretly drinking at the hotel before. I'll just pick any recommended series and turn it on. She'll come out on her own while I'm lounging around drinking beverages. That bitch. It really was a bath. I timed how long she took, and it was exactly 1 hour and 10 minutes. Why a bath all of a sudden? If she wanted to scrub herself, she should do it when she's alone at home. Sorry. I didn't realize it would take this long. The bathroom door flung open. Yoon Ji-yu appeared wearing only a bathrobe. What is she trying to do? Seduce me with feminine wiles? Could it be that Yoon Ji prefers women over men? Until just now, I wasn't conscious of it, but seeing her appear completely undressed, I couldn't calm down at all. Could this have been a trap? Did she lure me to this room, pretending to have a serious conversation, only to devour me? Oh, what's wrong? She just realized that I had retreated to the corner of the bed, curled up tightly. Ah, sorry. I'll put on clothes. I thought it was too late. Just wait a bit. Thank goodness. She didn't have such intentions. I almost called 112. Why appear wearing only a bathrobe? We're not even that close yet. Or are we? Am I the only one who thinks that? I wonder if I've been too accommodating of Yoon Ji-yu's stories. If I had known it would come to this, I should have shown some dislike. My mistake. Yoon Ji-yu, who had been busy putting on the clothes she had taken off in the bathroom, reappeared in the same camisole and cotton pants as before her shower. Though I had no intention of staying overnight, coincidentally, I was wearing a t-shirt and three-quarter pants, so I had nothing to worry about. I don't care if they get wrinkled or not. Sorry. I fell asleep while bathing without realizing it. I wish she would acknowledge that taking a bath was wrong. But maybe that's asking too much. I thought I should organize my thoughts a bit before talking. I just meant to soak in the tub for a while, but then scratching the back of her neck, Yoon-ji approached the bed, pulled back the covers, and lay down first. Want to come over here? You don't need to be so wary. I won't do anything. That makes it even more suspicious, but since she had put on clothes, I decided to trust her. Of course, I kept in mind the possibility of a headbutt followed by escape in case she suddenly tried to overpower me. I carefully slipped under the covers that Yoon-ji had lifted for me. Lying on her side, she extended her arm toward me, offering it as a pillow. Resting my head on her arm and lying face to face with Yoon-ji, she smiled as she stroked my bangs. It reminds me of the old days. Old days, yes. With Sebyok, we used to lie like this, chatting until we fell asleep. Ah, I haven't told you her name yet, have I? My sister, Sebyok, Jin Sebyok. I already knew this from Yoon Ji-chang, but I nodded a couple of times as if hearing it for the first time. Back then, I never thought we'd part so suddenly. I knew my father was capricious, but it was really too much to cancel the adoption of a child he had brought home to raise. Cancel the adoption. Yoon Ji-chang had told me this was Yoon Ji's typical method, a kind of antlion trap to make a girl her servant. But do people usually tell such stories to someone they want to make their servant? Even stories that could tarnish the name of her father, Yoon Guanqiao, a world-renowned violinist. Yoon Ji's hand, which had been stroking my bangs, now caressed my cheek. This is because you're kind and pretty like Sebyok, that's why I'm telling you. It's our secret, so you must never tell anyone, okay? It seems like the story I heard from Yoon Ji-chang is about to unfold. Thinking this, I nodded. However, despite being the eldest and a sister, Yoon Ji knew more than I expected. Sebyok was abandoned because she couldn't live up to my father's expectations. Live up to expectations? Yes. Ha. Yoon Ji sighed deeply, furrowing her brow and filling her voice with anger. My father's dream was to create the world's best violin-piano duet. He wanted his children to fulfill the dream he couldn't achieve himself. Hearing this story, a certain picture naturally forms. Yoon Ji, who could deliver peak performances enough to place second in the Paganini competition, and Yoon Ji-chang, who had more talent than me. The two could have made an excellent duet, but they didn't get along, and Yoon Ji-chang didn't even particularly like the piano. Was Sebyok a piano player? So that's why Mr. Yoon Guanqiao adopted a child who had no interest. Yes. Chapter 91. I can't believe you got this wrong. Was Sebyok a pianist? So that's why Mr. Yoon brought her. That child, Jin Sebyok. Yes. He wanted to create a duet, but one wouldn't play, and the other couldn't meet his standards. If it had been Professor Baek Young-yeon, he would have taken responsibility for at least one of them and made them the best. I wonder if Mr. Yoon decided he needed to beat his disobedient son into submission. That's why he sent Jin Sebyok back to her original home when she showed no promise. It must have cost him quite a bit of money, but would money matter to him? What's more important is finding someone who can support Yoon Ji for his dream. After hearing the circumstances, I feel even more sorry for Jin Sebyok. In a way, she's like a parallel universe version of young Siwoo who became unfortunate because she never met Professor Baek. What is she doing now? Now I'm not really sure. I secretly visit her and have meals with her sometimes. She doesn't want to tell me. She seems to be working somewhere. Yoon Ji squeezed his eyes shut. She looks really stressed. She wasn't like that before. She looks tired. And stressed, of course she would be. She was living a normal life and then was disowned because she couldn't play the piano well enough. How could she possibly feel good about that? Still, she must have extracted a good amount of money during the dissolution process, right? If Mr. Yoon blocked even that using legal professionals, I'd be really angry. I've offered to help her many times, but she keeps refusing. That's because she's afraid Mr. Yoon will come find her and say, "Stay away from my daughter." Usually that would be a mother's role, but Mr. Yoon has been widowed for a long time. If everything I've heard today is true, then Mr. Yoon is definitely the most dangerous person. Jae-yu's danger level would be downgraded from bad girl to bad girl with a sad backstory. When I was young, I liked my father. Even though my mother wasn't around, he really took care of us diligently. But after I realized there was a devil hiding behind that kindness, we've been at war ever since. At war? Yes. On the outside, she pretends to be a good daughter, but in reality, Yoon Jae-yu is filled with thoughts of revenge against her father. Hearing this, I was completely dumbfounded. Her story of being separated from Jin Sebum is heartbreaking, but how can she talk about revenge while acting exactly like the father she claims to hate? Shouldn't she act differently outside the house, even if she pretends to be a good, obedient daughter at home? Her danger level, which had been about to drop, was now rising back up to complete bitch. Sorry. This I'll tell you more when some time has passed. In the end, she's probably planning to pique my curiosity, use me thoroughly, and then discard me. Don't be fooled. She mocked me. She wasted my time. She shook me already precariously balanced on a cliff's edge and made me fall. Even if rolling down into the valley was purely a 50-50 chance, Yoon Jae-yu was the one who provided the cause. I can't let my heart soften. I closed my eyes, pretending to be tired. Yoon Jae-yu's hand gently tousled my bangs. If you're sleepy, go to bed first. I'll just drink a little more before sleeping. Okay, go away, devil. Don't try to deceive me. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the morning, when I opened my eyes, there was no one in the room. Only a short note from Yoon Jae-yu remained on the bedside table. Get home safely. I have an early lesson, so I'm heading out first. I tore up the note, crumpled it, rolled it into a ball, and threw it in the trash. All while chanting to myself, I won't be fooled. I won't be taken advantage of again. This panoramic hotel occupied the upper floors of Seoul's tallest tower. I stared blankly at the beautiful expanse of sky and Han River spread out before me, then slowly got up. Time to go home. Looking in the mirror, my hair was a complete mess. Recalling how Kang Hwi would touch my hair, I used a comb to gently untangle my long hair from the ends. Just as my puffy hair was getting neatly arranged, my phone rang. It was Siwoo. Hey. What's up? Where are you? I'm out. Signal Hotel. How did he know? Did he follow me or something? How did you know? Yoon Jae-chang told me. How did Jae-chang know? He followed you. He was worried she might do something bad to you. Seems like he was concerned his favorite might get eaten by a witch. Nothing happened, right? If he followed us, he must have seen us walking into the same hotel room. But even after hearing this from Yoon Jae-chang, Siwoo didn't press me about what happened. Probably because he trusts that I would tell him first if anything had happened. Yeah, whatever. I just brought Yoon Jae-yu up because she was drunk. After putting her to bed, I woke up and she was already gone. That's good. I'm about to leave now. I need to go home and take a bath. Just as I was about to end the call, I've already taken Strelka for a walk. My lectures end in the morning, so I don't have much to do. It seemed like young Siwoo was about to suggest meeting up. I did shower before sleeping at the hotel, but I might have sweated while sleeping. My hair was only roughly combed, and most importantly, my clothes. I'm not wearing a skirt. I'm far from Siwoo's favorite outfit #4, looking quite disheveled. Min Ki-won must always look her prettiest and freshest when meeting young Siwoo, so even for a date, now is not the time. This is an absolute promise and rule that cannot be broken. Can we meet in 2 hours? Young Siwoo was speechless at my specific time request. Wondering if there was a problem, I called his name a couple of times and he startled before mumbling, "Ah. Ah. Let's do that. Should I come to your place in 2 hours?" Suspecting he might have already come to the hotel lobby to meet me right away, I casually threw out a comment. "Why are you so surprised? Are you in the hotel lobby right now?" No answer. Was he really? Since he wasn't responding, I finished combing my hair and opened the room door. "Hello. I'm about to get in the elevator, so the call might drop." "Ah, yes. See you in 2 hours." "No. Wait there. Just a minute." I ended the call and ran to the elevator. It seems wrong to send someone away who came all this way just because I'm not prepared. The promise to always show a perfect image in front of Siwoo. What's wrong with breaking it just this once? What am I doing right now? Even I find it hard to understand why my heart is racing like this. I tell myself it's for bomb disposal. I'm guarding a powder keg that might explode if left alone. Yes, no need to be surprised. No need to think it's strange. Just think of it as doing a job. Think of it as something natural. The doors are closing. Despite being a high-speed elevator in a skyscraper, today it feels exceptionally slow. Siwoo is waiting downstairs. Hurry, hurry up. What if he leaves after coming all this way? Lobby floor. The doors are opening. As soon as the elevator doors opened, I rushed out and looked around. He's not here. Did he already leave? No, that can't be. Would he really leave just because I told him to? He's probably hiding somewhere, waiting to surprise me. I immediately closed my eyes. Just like when I was looking for him in the Hala Hotel lobby, I put myself in young Siwoo's mindset and thought about where he might have gone. The place where most people pass by. He'll be waiting for me there. He's probably waiting for me to search the lobby thoroughly and finally head to the main entrance. Then he'll pounce from behind, asking if I was surprised. The evolving young Siwoo would definitely do that. In that case, I'll turn the tables on him. I won't fall for it this time. "Excuse me, is there another exit from the hotel?" "There's a way out through the parking garage over there." "Thank you." After asking the bellboy and finding another route, I went out through the parking garage and through the department store attached to the hotel, then circled back to the hotel's main entrance. Afraid of being spotted, I crouched low and kept scanning my surroundings as I approached. There he is. Black, messy hair. The jacket and cotton pants he wore when he tried to dress up before. That's definitely him, hiding beside the main entrance, staring intently at the revolving door. Grinning, I tiptoed slowly toward him from behind. I raised my hand high. "Slap. Surprised you." But the man who turned around was someone completely different. The bewildered man stammered, Who are you?" "What?" His height and build were exactly the same. How could I mistake him? "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were someone I knew." The man who was about to get angry looked at my face, cleared his throat, and left. He even had a strange smile. "Min Ki-won, your pretty face saved you." What's going on? I was sure it was young Siwoo. I feel like I've been tricked by a ghost. How could this happen? I was certain it was Siwoo. Wondering if Siwoo might be hiding somewhere watching this scene, I scanned the area, and to my surprise, I spotted a man watching me from between some trees before running away. I couldn't see his face, but he was dressed similarly. It must be Siwoo. I sprang into action and started running. This time I'll definitely catch. Hey, hey. Where are you rushing off to? A large hand gently grabbed my wrist, stopping me. Hearing the familiar voice, I turned my head to find Siwoo standing there. What jacket and cotton pants? Siwoo was dressed in his usual hoodie and jeans. Chapter 92. Once upon a time, there was and then there wasn't. "So you thought it was me and chased after me?" The man I thought had run away after seeing me was actually just running to check the camera he had set up on a tripod for filming. I'd made a complete fool of myself. Looking around, I realized there were quite a few men wearing jackets and cotton pants. No wonder I was confused. Did they all coordinate their outfits? Their styles overlapped too much. Well, their clothes are just too similar, that's true. Siwoo smirked as if he understood the reason. It's spring, peak season for couples. If you look up men's date outfits online, they're all pretty much the same. No, the fundamental cause was something else. The clothes are similar, but the problem is that you look too ordinary. That I can't deny. I stared at Siwoo's dejected expression for quite a while. Soon I realized it was self-deprecation. Sorry. No, you're not ordinary. Really? What kind of guy has such flappy ears? You have no backbone. It's not like someone else is saying this, it's you. Well, that's true. If I were to compliment young Siwoo despite his dark circles, if you removed them, he'd instantly become a handsome guy. Isn't that the face I see in the mirror every day? I'm certain. Sharp nose bridge, distinct features. Over 180 cm tall with long legs. This isn't an exaggeration. Even from Kiwon's perspective, not just in the mirror, that's how he appears. Calling you ordinary would be deceptive. Of course, he's not as good-looking as Song Seong-hyuk. That guy lives with his hair covering his face, but the moment he pushes it back properly, he transforms completely. He probably would have been successful as a photo model rather than a musician. I don't call him an alpha male out of jealousy for nothing. Well, standing next to you does make me look relatively ordinary. The sudden compliment nearly set off my powder keg, but surprisingly, my reason held firm. Perhaps the reinforcement work I'd been doing helped. This level of explosion is manageable now. When young Siwoo first confronted me, I was worried my powder keg would completely blow away. Maybe his tough approach actually promoted my growth. Honestly, anyone would look ordinary next to me. As I boldly praised Min Ki-won's appearance, young Siwoo dropped his eyebrows and let out a chuckle. Sure. You're pretty. Who else? Of course. Right. You're extremely pretty. I think it's the first time I've seen you dressed like this. I like today's cute outfit. That's right. This was the first time I'd shown him this outfit. Yet I'd heard him say I was pretty several times. Your scent seems different today too. Is it the hotel shampoo? Boom. Belatedly, cracks started forming in my powder keg. Explosions had been happening inside all along. I just hadn't noticed because the exterior had hardened. The powder keg was gradually tilting. Wait, I covered Siwoo's mouth and, leaving only what needed to be said, started running toward the main road. I'm going to change clothes. Meet me in front of my house in 2 hours. As I moved away, Siwoo followed for a moment, but then just stood watching me run away with a smile. As soon as I arrived at the mansion, I called Gangwei for a complete wardrobe change and sat on a stool to discuss my requirements for going out. See cute make me look cute. Cute? You mean outfit number 4? No, that number 2. Like what I wore yesterday. Ah, that kind of cute. Are you meeting Siwoo? Number 2 consists of casual outfits for going out, including comfortable pants, shirts, and hoodies. I'd been restraining myself from dressing like this when meeting Siwoo, thinking he might be disappointed. But come to think of it, he's already seen me in pajamas, so why avoid outfit number 2? I nodded vigorously to affirm and conveyed my determination to Gangwei. I need to look good enough that anyone would envy young Siwoo. From now on, whenever I meet Siwoo, whatever outfit number it is, I'll let you know. Gangwei giggled like a young girl, then touched my cheek with one hand while clenching his fist. I'll make you the most beautiful girl in the world, so don't worry. Every man on earth will envy Siwoo. You know you're pretty even without much effort, right? It's strange. When Gangwei says similar things, I don't react, of course. I don't understand why my heart only flutters when Siwoo speaks. My heart, what am I saying about my heart fluttering? I've been busy dealing with explosives until now. Ah, so, it wasn't explosives. I just mistook my heart's pounding for the sound of bombs exploding. Really? As I thought of Siwoo while questioning my thumping heart, thump, thump, thump. The precarious powder keg was my heart all along, and the explosives detonating inside were just special feelings packaged in the form of explosives. Huh? Only now, several weeks after starting to date him, did I realize. Asterisk, 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 the moment a child takes a step toward adulthood. In technical terms, this period called secondary sexual characteristics is also described as the time when one begins to feel special emotions toward the opposite sex. But I never experienced that period. I became an incomplete adult without properly going through secondary sexual characteristics. At 24, my body might have become that of a fine man, but my mind hadn't. I don't know if the body switching incident with Min Ki-won was the trigger, but the probability that it caused my abnormal development is quite high. Though it was only half a year, living as a woman affected me. It made me lose significant interest in women as beings. Thanks to that, at an age when I should have been loving people, I loved the piano instead. Looking back now, I'm not even sure if I truly loved it. Anyway, I've lived for over a decade as someone who couldn't live without the piano. Add to that Baek Chun-ga, who continuously tormented me, and Yoon Ji-yu, who took what she needed and ran away. All these factors combined to lower my expectations of women to the extreme. Before my near death, I was so broken that I couldn't love anyone except Min Ki-won. So even when I was revived as Min Ki-won, my mind was still that of a young boy who didn't understand love. On top of that, after going through certain events, Ki-won and I completely mixed, and I destroyed the tower of performance I had been holding onto for over a decade. Having pushed away everything that constituted my identity and being reborn anew, I finally came to like someone romantically. I thought you'd like it. It's been a while since you've seen our orchestra perform live. With proper mental maturity, I realized who had made me become such a proper adult. Why, yeah. It has been a while. Why? Don't you like it? No. I do. Why are you acting like you don't know? No, I do know. You just don't look very happy, no. No. I was just thinking about something else. I really like it. I thought it would be easy to seduce and conquer young Siwoo since our tastes completely overlapped. But conversely, I could easily fall too. Of course. How could I resist someone who hits all my preferences and predicts where I'll go? Especially when I've liked this person for 14 years. How could I hold out? It's already impressive that I've managed not to blow up my powder keg until now. I can't take it anymore. My heart is pounding so much I could go crazy. Only being able to hold hands for a month is like torture. Why did I set such a restriction? Was I in my right mind? Today is May 26th. There are about 10 days left until the end of our contract relationship. I wish it would end soon. I wish those 10 days would pass. Hand before Siwoo could finish asking for my hand, mine was already overlapping his. The way we held hands was a bit different from usual. It was the interlocking fingers that relationship guidebooks said was only possible after some progress. I looked straight at Siwoo's nervous gaze without avoiding it. Sensing something, Siwoo slightly backed away. I tightened my grip on our interlocked hands. Where do you think you're going? After making me like this, you think you can escape? Do you think that's possible? Ki-won? Yes. As Siwoo subtly tried to avoid my gaze, I stubbornly followed the end of his line of sight. It was useless for him to try to avoid it. I knew exactly where he was looking. If he ran away, I'd meet his eyes. If he ran again, I'd meet them again. For over 5 minutes now, our gazes had been fixed on each other's eyes. Tell me, why? Siwoo gulped. Today, his Adam's apple seemed particularly prominent. My heart raced. Your eyes are going to pop out. What is he saying now? After blinking a few times, I spoke to Siwoo. With the powder keg gone and only my heart remaining, I was someone who didn't know retreat. Why can't I look at you like this? Chapter 93, I like you. Your eyes are going to fall out. What is he saying now? After blinking a few times, I spoke to Siwoo. With the armory gone and only my heart remaining, I was someone who didn't know how to retreat. Why am I not allowed to look at you like this? We stood in confrontation for a long while, exchanging only glances without words. We didn't move even when people started peering over curiously, wondering what we were doing. Only when the entrance line grew longer and it was time for us to go stand in it did Siwoo finally speak. You can look all you want. If you want to look at me like that, I'm happy. Really? Yeah, as much as you want. Just stare at me whenever you feel like it. Okay. I'll keep looking at you until the performance starts. That's fine, right? I can look as much as I want. That face is one I love. The more I look at it, the more my heart races and my energy rises. A staring contest where neither of us would give up began, but Siwoo was the first to blink, declaring his defeat. You lost. We didn't even officially start a staring contest. You implicitly agreed. In your heart. Admit it. TCH. Fine. What do you want me to do? Come here. I went behind Siwoo and slipped my arm around his waist. His body flinched. Soon, from my head to my chest, my upper body tilted slightly and touched his back. Siwoo's body began to tremble like a pressure cooker about to explode. Wait. Are you breaking our contract right now? You talk big for someone who forgot to even raise an objection because you were defeated by the softness of my chest. Giggling, I pulled my hand wrapped around his stomach slightly upward. He tried to avoid my touch by pushing his stomach back, but that only pressed him more firmly against my chest. Hey. Just before Siwoo could scream, I backed away slightly. I shouldn't push it too far. Siwoo doesn't like women who are too aggressive. Heh. This is how it works. Tease him just enough. Back off a bit. Then, when he's forgotten about it, poke him again. Return exactly what he did to me. I looked at Siwoo's face and proudly lifted my chin. Oh my. I violated a clause. What should we do? Should we terminate the contract? A sharp gaze filled with complex emotions pierced the bridge of my nose. It stung, but I could bear it. Come on, tell me. What should we do? Forget termination. I'd like to confirm an extension of the contract. He avoids my gaze as if embarrassed, but I like his honest words. I giggled and slapped his back with a bang. Okay. Was my answer too quick? Siwoo pinched my cheek, trying to interrogate my true intentions. Don't tell me. What? I didn't do that on purpose, you know? Stop being childish and just be honest. Do you think I can't read your thoughts? Then guess. What am I thinking? He came close to my ear and whispered softly like he was doing ASMR. You never intended to end the contract from the beginning, did you? My thought process malfunctioned briefly, but only briefly. I composed my expression again and looked straight at young Siwoo. That's not true. I was planning to end it if you did something stupid. Now you're lying without even changing your expression. What are you talking about? Siwoo tapped his chest and said, Think about it honestly. The outcome is already decided, isn't it? That's right. We're destined to be together. No, wait. What are you saying? When did I say I liked you? Siwoo gave me a bewildered look, started to speak, then closed his mouth. Then he unwrapped my hands from his waist and distanced himself from me. Why? When I expressed my disappointment, he laughed incredulously. Think about what you've been doing, supposedly to recover your memories. Asking me to stroke your hair. asking me to touch your cheek, holding hands, sticking close to me, hugging me from behind. My best efforts to remove the explosive that wasn't an explosive, was it? No, I was just packaging what my heart told me to do in a way that suited me. Why would someone normally do such things? Because they like the other person. Kiwon Min likes young Siwoo. That's why I did it. Oh. A wildfire broke out on my face. Unable to hide my embarrassment, I turned around and ran to the women's restroom. Hey, Siwoo chased after me, but he couldn't follow me into the restroom. I stood in front of the mirror. My flushed face looked like a ripe tomato. The very image of a girl in love. I shook my head in denial, but the realization only became clearer. I like him. Yes, I've been liking him. I've loved young Siwoo for 14 years. That's why I built the cultural center, came to Korea under the pretext of inspection, and spent time playing piano in cafes where Siwoo might appear. We finally met and exchanged brief greetings. I pretended not to know him and ran away out of embarrassment. Eventually, I introduced myself properly the next day and apologized. Because I like him. Because I like him madly. Because I've loved only young Siwoo my entire life. Huh? Administrator. Armory Administrator. Are you coming to your senses? There was a massive explosion. Everything around is in chaos. Can you see? This whole area has become a sea of fire. The fire won't go out. The administrator needs to contain it. If this continues, the armory can never be rebuilt. Shut up, I'll handle it myself. I dismissed the chattering voice in my mind. I turned on the cold water, gently massaged my face, then looked up at the mirror. There was a girl in love. A girl who had fallen so completely that she didn't care about her past. I know that the memories of a person who lived for 24 years have been overlaid onto this girl's body. But whose body is this that those memories have settled into? If Kiwon Min's stomach were replaced with young Siwoo's parts, would that be Kiwon Min or young Siwoo? In this question with no clear answer, I chose to run away. I chose to accept reality rather than face the truth. You think I made this choice thoughtlessly? Not at all. I made this choice for young Siwoo's future, for my past self, for the one Kiwon loves, for my future companion. By becoming one with Kiwon, I was able to move forward by breaking down everything I had built. Thanks to that, I could witness even a speck of a different color that I thought I'd never see in young Siwoo. There's still a long way to go, but the possibility has opened up. This time spent with me will push young Siwoo to the next level. If it's for young Siwoo, if it's for Kiwon Min, I must look at one path and run to the end. Doubts are unnecessary in this process. They're just obstacles that hold me back and delay the time to face the changing future. The voice in my mind calls out again. Administrator, don't give up. We can rebuild it. Let's build it stronger and safer. If you give up, who will manage the explosives? I take out a hidden grenade and throw it into the temporary armory that has just barely put up wire fencing. Boom! Ha. The Joker laughs hysterically. The surprised director falls in love. An explosion that would make President Truman agonize. The deeply dug ground where the armory once stood heaves with a steady rhythm. As I clear away the soil, the owner of the red emotion reveals itself beneath the ground. Thump thump. A lovely heart was beating. It was Morse code telling me what I needed to do. I smiled and rushed out of the restroom. I firmly grasped the hand that Siwoo extended to me as he waited outside. Are you okay? Why did you suddenly? I know, Kiwon. I know your emotions are running wild. I know the timing is a bit awkward. But young Siwoo is someone who will accept whatever bizarre behavior you exhibit. So have confidence. We're both clumsy at romance. So it's okay if things are a bit messy. We can bump into each other here and there. Siwoo. Caressing Siwoo's hand that I was holding, I inflated the feelings that Kiwon had been fermenting in her heart for 14 years. I like you. I like Kiwon Min. I've liked you for 14 years. I've liked you since we first met in Austria until we met again in Korea. I fell for you at first sight 14 years ago. I fell for you again when you returned to Korea. But I wasn't honest. I lacked confidence because I couldn't become a man worthy of you. I didn't need to think about that. You were waiting for me all along, but I kept hesitating. Isn't it fortunate? The Siwoo in front of you isn't like me in my past life. You don't have to thank me. I'm just correcting the mistakes I made before. I'm sorry for only telling you now. I wanted to tell you earlier. Siwoo, who had been listening, covered my mouth. And then, unlike the young Siwoo I knew, he looked at me with burning eyes and said, "Forget about the contract. Let's date properly." Typical man. Seems like he wanted to be the one to confess. Fine, take all the initiative or whatever you want. Do your best to make Ki-won Min happy. That's the answer. The only way to repay 14 years of unrequited love. I like you, Ki-won Min. In my heart, a shining signal flare was launched. All the darkness that had been hindering my memory recovery disappeared in an instant. Memories from when I was 6 years old came flooding in like bamboo shoots after rain. The happiness of all the days spent with Ki-won finally reached my heart. Would you play it for me now? The zero persona, which I thought had disappeared, speaks to me. The performance you couldn't complete in your past life. Chapter 94, A Relationship Where Love is Inevitable. Until the moment I blinked, I was standing in front of the ticket box at the Seoul Arts Center. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a completely different space. My limbs moved freely, as if floating in midair. Where am I? The sky? Underwater? Space? I looked around, but my vision was extremely murky. It felt like being in water filled with impurities. Belatedly, my senses returned. Something cold touched my skin. Underwater, that's right. This is the moment just before death. Could it be that I've been dreaming all this time? Did I dream an entire month in that brief moment? That's impossible. This must be a delusion or hallucination. I came back to life. I was resurrected from death. I gained a new life thanks to Ki-won. Being pulled back to my past life only to die, that can't happen. If the story went that way, that author would be murdered. Don't worry. In that moment, I heard that desperately missed voice. It was Ki-won. Ki-won? I tried to move my lips, but no sound came out underwater. Strangely, though time continued to flow, I wasn't suffocating despite being submerged. Maybe this isn't underwater. Then where exactly am I? You won't die, Appa. No matter what happens, I'll save you. Don't worry. Ki-won's voice continued to reach me. Still, I couldn't see her. We've always been together and we'll continue to be together. You have me, and I have you. My vision blurred. The murky water turned black. I squeezed my eyes shut. Don't be afraid. The hazy final moment of my past life came back to me. In the cold water, there was one warm touch. It was Min Ki-won's touch. Did she really save me? How could something so impossible happen? When we were young and our bodies switched, did parts of our souls remain in each other even after we returned to normal? After all, they said Ki-won's dissociative identity disorder started appearing after our bodies switched. And haven't I also been living with numerous cells inside me, though I never showed it outwardly? Perhaps a Min Ki-won pretending to be young Siwoo was hiding among them. Ki-won? Oh, yes. Suddenly, I snapped back to reality. I was once again in front of the ticket box at the Seoul Arts Center. The long entrance line had almost cleared out, and it was time for us to join the line and enter. Let's go in. Wait. Your answer. As I was about to rush to the line, Siwoo grabbed my shoulder. Looking straight at him, I recalled what Ki-won had told me. just as Min Ki-won remained in me. If I also remained in Min Ki-won, I could remove the last remaining obstacle. Not simply because Min Ki-won loved Young Si-woo. I myself could love Young Si-woo as much as Min Ki-won did. If she remained inside me, I couldn't help but love him, if only to reciprocate her long-standing unrequited love. I like you too. As soon as I finished speaking, I threw myself at Si-woo and hugged him tightly. I like you a lot. Really, really like you. I've liked you all along. Even when you didn't know, I've always liked you, and I poured out all the emotions I had been holding back. I took all the bombs that Min Ki-won had missed the timing to detonate and set them off in front of Si-woo, as if telling him it was all his fault that I became like this. From now on there's only you for me. After saying all that, I belatedly felt embarrassed. I could hardly believe those words had come from my own mouth. I tried to break away from Si-woo's embrace and run to the entrance line, but Si-woo, who had been standing dazed in place, suddenly collapsed to the ground. Hey, what are you doing? Startled, I went back to help him up, and he mumbled softly while smiling like an idiot. No, I'm just so happy my legs gave out, haha. Seeing me struggling, Si-woo quickly got up. I almost fell backward, but his long arms caught me. Let's go. To see the performance. Why yeah. Si-woo held out his hand, and I took it. It hadn't even been a month, but this action had already become habitual and natural for us. My pounding heart was telling me that holding hands and walking together was the surest and most direct way to feel the parts of each other that remained within us. That no matter what happened, please don't let go of this hand. That this was the happiest thing. Yes, I won't let go. I never intended to let go in the first place. Whether this was a reward for waiting 14 years, whether it was to find the fragments of you that might remain in me, whether it was to compensate for my broken 3 years, or simply because I liked Young Si-woo, I don't want to worry about it anymore. I'll just do what my heart tells me to do, because I've realized that's the right direction. As soon as we entered, I let go of Si-woo's hand. Looking at his startled face, I linked arms with him like a sly fox. With a bright smile, I showed him a relaxed expression. Then, like a snake crawling up my back, his arm lightly wrapped around my waist. It was Si-woo's arm. When I stopped in my tracks, surprised, he slowly guided me forward and whispered in my ear, "We're officially dating now." Why yeah. So I'm your boyfriend. I guess so. What was he trying to say with all this build-up? That since we started dating, we could move things along? That as a man, he could act on his desires? From now on, I'll take the lead, so don't push yourself. Honestly, I was a bit worried from the beginning when you asked me to touch you and stuff. It felt like you were forcing yourself to be physical for my sake. That's not it. All of that had its own purpose. I tried to deny it, but was there any need for that now? All the walls in my heart had crumbled, and I realized there was never any powder keg in my heart to begin with. The question was whether I needed to take the initiative. I know Young Si-woo well. He's someone who sets goals and knows how to move steadily toward achieving them. Dating is no different. He must have his own plan. Since I'm still a minor, he probably intends to wait until I become an adult. So rather than fearing losing control to Si-woo, as his senior by 3 years, I should embrace him with composure. Because I'm the adult. If he tries to make a mistake, I can calm him down then. We'll inevitably bump into each other like bumper cars since neither of us knows much about dating. But relationship books say that such trial and error is part of the charm of a first relationship. That's not true. I did it because I wanted to. Really? But you're right. If I act too aggressively, it might be hard for you to handle. But I don't want to give up control completely. I want to hold on a little longer. I have my pride too. Besides, I have a nuclear bomb that could shock Si-woo. My lewd jokes and teasing. I glanced at Si-woo's lower body. He jumped in surprise and removed his hand from my waist. That's not what I meant. Ahaha. Hey, hey. You'll fall. With the happiest expression in the world, I ran down the sloping corridor of the still bustling orchestra hall. Asterisk 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 in large venues like the Seoul Arts Center, one might expect to hear only classical symphonies by the old masters, but surprisingly, new compositions by emerging composers often make their debut before the public. In the last week of May, the orchestra we had tickets for featured just that, a new piece by an incredibly young composer born in '96, whose previous works had apparently been successfully performed at various music festivals in Korea. I must be too used to the masters because I'm unconsciously making back in my day judgments. But aren't Siwoo and I both classical music enthusiasts? Despite everything, we couldn't help but marvel at Dvorak's Symphony No. 8, which was performed next. You too? Me too. But I'm keeping it to myself. Industry people are definitely here to gauge audience reactions. I know. I'm not a child. I wouldn't make such a mistake. In my past life, I was indeed a child just 3 years ago. Anyway, thanks for the experience. About the ticket price, Siwoo shook his head. Meaning I shouldn't worry about it at all. It's just the cost of a few walks at Strelka. Don't worry. Ah, right. Of course. I shouldn't take away a boyfriend's desire to please his girlfriend with money earned through his hard work. Let's leave it at that. Though it seems like that money ultimately came from me too, since we said he was taking it from the mansion's operating expenses. So strictly speaking, it's not my money. Anyway, it was nice. As we walked side by side, Siwoo naturally took my hand. I was no longer surprised. I simply felt the warmth transmitted through our hands, turned to look at Siwoo, and smiled shyly. Want to get dinner? Sure. Want me to guess what you're in the mood for? Go ahead. For some reason, after performances like this, we naturally gravitated toward Korean food. Perhaps because 14 years ago, on the day we first met, we had seaweed soup for dinner. Korean food? Siwoo giggled. I laughed along and followed his suddenly lighter footsteps. Without discussing it, we both knew what the right answer was. As we were leaving the orchestra hall and passing by the ticket box, it happened. Just a moment, someone about my height suddenly blocked our path. Their head was bowed, making their protruding pink hair particularly noticeable. Excuse me, you're Kiwon, alright? From Kiwon's database, an editor with the nickname Jindon popped up. And from the face I saw as they looked up, the name Jin Sebyok also emerged. Combining these two clues, I understood. The editor Jindon that Song Seon-hyuk had promised to introduce was actually Jin Sebyok. I carefully called out the name of the woman who was trembling uncontrollably. Jin Sebyok, Chapter 95, Receive My Bow. Life is harsh and cruel. In a single day, one can go from being the youngest daughter of a wealthy family to the daughter of a crumbling, shabby house. From a beloved piano prodigy to a bottom-rung life earning money through physical labor. In that sense, Jin Sebyok might have avoided the worst. Though she was disowned, in exchange she received a considerable sum of money that allowed her to take her sick mother to the hospital and escape from their collapsing house. However, no matter how much she tried to brainwash herself into thinking she was fortunate, she couldn't erase the feeling of betrayal. While she might not have hit rock bottom, her situation had clearly worsened. More shocking than being suddenly separated from the older siblings she loved and never being able to see them again was meeting her biological mother, whose existence she hadn't even known about until then. Although her health had improved significantly thanks to Yoon Gwancheol, her adoptive father, faithfully covering the hospital bills right after reuniting with her biological mother, Sebyok was deeply disappointed in herself for having lived a carefree, happy life without knowing anything. While she had been dreaming of becoming a famous duet and gaining recognition, her biological mother had been lying in a hospital bed, struggling alone. But perhaps it was all for the purpose of eventually disowning Sebyok. During the time Yoon Gwancheol had adopted Sebyok, he had invested all his resources to improve her mother's health as much as possible. Though she still needed a qualified nurse as a caregiver, she could now go out like ordinary people. Your mother tried not to send you to me. So if you want to hate someone, hate me. Your mother never sold you for money. The powerless child who had been blaming herself became an adult the moment she heard those words. She had to bury her hatred for Yoon Guanjial in her heart. Even though he eventually disowned her, he was the person who had changed the fate of Sebyok, who would have otherwise lived a wretched life. So, even today, Sebyok lived day by day, working hard to earn money for her mother's hospital bills while longing for a reunion with the step-siblings she had been separated from. How was it? The performance, was it good? Yes. I enjoyed it, thanks to my daughter. I'm glad, as if the heavens had recognized Sebyok's efforts. Her work had been going well recently, and her income had increased. Thanks to that, she could now attend orchestra performances like this one, something she couldn't have dreamed of before. Although she nearly broke her back getting tickets for the caregiver too, enjoying her favorite hobby with her mother was truly a pleasure. I'm sorry, did you wait long? No. Please take good care of my mother back to the hospital. Of course. Don't worry. Thanks to Sebyok, I got to see something like this. I'm really grateful. Sebyok, don't overwork yourself, okay? Yes, don't worry, the caregiver bowed repeatedly as she pulled her mother's wheelchair. Sebyok followed alongside, smiled at her mother, and then stopped in place. The performance was enjoyable, but the thought of going back to work made her feel tired. Should I record the video? No, start with editing first. Despite paying good money to attend the concert, she had been nodding off throughout the performance because she had stayed up late the night before doing a batch of overdue video editing. It was a waste of money, but what could she do? She really wanted her mother to hear the beauty of classical music. Since this was something she couldn't have imagined just a year ago, she was grateful just to have made it this far. Every day she prayed to the heavens, please send down just one more rope of success, but perhaps lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. It seemed unlikely that divine providence would reach Sebyok again. As she trudged toward the passage connected to the nearest subway station to go home, that's when it happened. Sounds good. Want me to guess what you'd like to eat? Korean food? She heard the voice of her precious benefactor who had entrusted work to Jin Sebyok 3 years ago when she was still clumsy at video editing. Ki-won. At first, she had learned video editing with the simple intention of recording her performances with Yoon Ji-yu and storing them on her personal channel. In the process, Sebyok practiced various video techniques using her solo performance videos. She was quite diligent, sometimes uploading as many as 3 videos a day. Then she accidentally uploaded a public video to her channel, which Ki-won discovered and contacted her about. She said she wanted to try YouTube too and asked if Sebyok would edit her videos. She took on the work and they worked together for about 3 months, but when Yoon Guanjial found out, he took away Sebyok's computer so she couldn't edit anymore. Of course, she couldn't continue working for Ki-won, so Sebyok had to say goodbye, explaining that she could no longer work due to personal circumstances. Surprisingly, that experience was revived after being disowned by Yoon Guanjial. When she had to support herself alone, the Acklorts channel came to her as a ray of light in her bleak situation. Although it had been several years, could she ask for help based on their past acquaintance? Suddenly contacting her now seemed so ugly and pathetic, but Sebyok sent a DM, clutching at straws, asking if she could use the videos she had produced in the past as her portfolio. Acklorts, yes, go ahead. A readily given permission. She couldn't thank Min Ki-won enough at that time. That was the moment when a girl 1 year younger than her became Sebyok's precious benefactor. But things in life don't always go smoothly. Perhaps because her portfolio was outdated, it didn't attract as much attention as she had hoped. She needed a new portfolio but lacked good ideas. That's when Ki-won contacted Sebyok first. It's summer. The season for swimsuits. It was an outsourcing request for the Acklerts channel's summer event video. As if she really wanted to attract attention, Kiwon came with the most provocative cosplay she had ever filmed. She chose the shocking bikini worn by the female protagonist of a popular animation, That Cosplay Girl Is in Love. There was no way Sebyok could easily accept such a proposal. No matter how much it was for her own benefit, it seemed too much to ask of her benefactor. I appreciate the thought, but I can't make you expose yourself like this. But Kiwon was adamant. Then, Sebyok, you wear it with me. Wouldn't that double the attention? In the end, both Kiwon and Sebyok appeared in the video wearing swimsuits. The beautiful duet performed by two charming girls sitting on one piano bench instantly captivated even ordinary people who knew nothing about anime. Wasn't Acklerts always doing fully covered cosplays? She wore a swimsuit for the first time. It was a rare event, and since both of them were shockingly alluring, the news spread rapidly. From that day on, not only Acklerts but also Jindon Sebyok's editor nickname, who appeared in the video together, became famous. Her SNS, which had been known only to a few, suddenly gained followers in the tens of thousands, up from just hundreds. It was truly a new life found thanks to Min Kiwon, a first-class express train to paradise boarded thanks to Min Kiwon. While she was busy handling the flood of work requests, Min Kiwon, not satisfied with just that, brought something else. It was a VTuber avatar. People keep asking if you're going to stream. If it's hard to show your face, let's try being a VTuber. It will definitely be a hit, just trust me once. The avatar obtained through renowned Mama Illustrator and Papa Live 2D rigger in the VTuber market was on par with the most successful VTubers in the world. She adamantly refused, but was Min Kiwon the type to give up when rejected? She forced it through, and VTuber Jin Don's debut was successfully accomplished. With a timid personality like a hamster, but a complete 180-degree change when angry, and her charm of not being able to properly fit in with people during collaborations and running away, people gradually became attracted to these traits. So during a recent horror game live stream, she achieved the feat of reaching a maximum of 4,000 concurrent viewers. Although she still couldn't compare to corporate VTubers, thanks to the English she was forced to study from a young age by Yoon Guancheol, she even gained big spending overseas fans. She had enough money to pay for the caregiver she hired for editing, cover all her mother's hospital bills, and still have enough left to pay off her debts. But even these days, Sebyok worked without rest, with the determination to repay Min Kiwon for all her help. Even for someone as extremely shy as Jin Sebyok, who found it burdensome to approach someone in crowded places, it was still a joy to accidentally meet her precious benefactor while attending a performance. Sebyok approached Min Kiwon, barely overcoming her awkward steps and stiff movements. Excuse me, like prying open a locked door with a crowbar, Sebyok managed to address Min Kiwon with stammering words. Sorry, but you're Kiwon, right? As the answer was delayed, cold sweat began to form. Her entire back became damp in less than a few seconds. I shouldn't have approached her. Should I have kept quiet? Should I have just contacted her through Messenger instead? All sorts of thoughts raced through Sebyok's mind when finally Jin Sebyok, Min Kiwon, called her name. The tension of standing before her benefactor after nearly a year since they filmed the swimsuit video together. The pressure to properly express the gratitude she had only conveyed through words and messages until now. And then, adding to it all, her tendency to act inappropriately in moments of crisis. Thank Yaoru. Jin Sebyok dropped into a deep bow before Min Kiwon on the red carpet leading to the concert hall. Chapter 96, Unlucky Jiang Siwoo. The stares of people were so piercing that I first took Jin Sebyok out of the Seoul Arts Center and headed to a cafe a little distance away. And that's how I've come to regard Min Kiwon as my noble benefactor. I didn't need to use my brain to figure out how Min Kiwon and Jin Sebyok were connected. She explained it quite well, albeit with a stutter. While Jin Sebyok was fluently sharing her past story, I looked up who her mama and papa were. They weren't just any names in the industry. They were the top of the illustration field and a god of live 2D rigging. No wonder she became successful. Her own character traits played a part, but her appearance alone gave her at least 60 points to start with. From when I first edited a Klurtz video 3 years ago, to when we uploaded a swimsuit video together last year, and even providing support for her VTuber avatar. The compensation seemed excessive for the little help she received in the early days of NewTube. But there was a reason for all of it. So you knew. My past self knew about what had happened between Mr. Yoon Guanqiao and Jin Sebyok. Jin Sebyok remained silent out of fear from Yoon Guanqiao's not-so-subtle threats, but my past self had detected her unusual behavior and investigated it personally. Why? Why are you looking at me like that? I finally understood why Yoon Ji-yu had been so obsessed with me. Jin Sebyok acted exactly like me when I was playing Hitori-chan. If I was the fake Hitori, she was the real one. She constantly checked her surroundings with every word and action, and like a meerkat, she would look around to detect any potential threats when bored. She was always intimidated, her upper body leaning forward, and her hands deliberately gathered in front of her chest as if on purpose. She gave off strong squirrel or golden hamster vibes. No wonder Yoon Ji couldn't resist embracing me. Now I could understand why he showed such overprotective behavior in front of Mr. Yoon Guanqiao when he brought me home. Sebyok, but I wonder how she survived under Mr. Yoon Guanqiao with such a fragile personality. I'm not sure if Yoon Ji protected her well, or if despite her apparent weakness, she still managed to speak her mind. She's even a year older than me at 20, but her youthful appearance makes her look the same age as me. How did someone with that personality manage to dye her hair pink? The bleaching and dyeing process must have taken hours. Does she have the capacity to endure the hairdresser's unique skill of endless small talk? Actually, why would someone so timid dye their hair in the first place? That's also something I'm dying to know. Young Siwoo, I'll be nearby, call me when you're done talking. Young Siwoo, I stepped away because it seemed like an important conversation, but this is still our first official date as a couple. Young Siwoo, I want to take you home since Siwoo is waiting. I can't have a long conversation. So I'll just ask what I want to know quickly. MS. Jin Sebyok is one of the relationships my past self carefully nurtured. I don't want to give her a bad impression. When did you dye your hair? Recently. I wanted to make it look exactly like my character and somehow it just happened. I see. Of course, Jinden's character had pink hair. I suspect she might have done one of those cooking content videos that VTubers sometimes do with their faces hidden. It's a polarizing type of content, but I guess it was possible because she had previously appeared in a swimsuit collaboration with my past self. Kiwon, we're like sisters. Just call me comfortably. It's fine. But I can't. Absolutely not. You're my benefactor. When dealing with timid people, staying silent until they feel comfortable enough to speak can actually backfire. Though they may not express it outwardly, countless scenarios are frantically running through their minds. If given too much time, they might go too far and come up with reactions and interpretations completely different from my intentions. That's why I need to convey my sincerity quickly and efficiently. If they seem to be contemplating something, I should anticipate what they might be thinking and provide options for questions from my side. Do you dislike calling me Anai? Suddenly. Were we that close? I'm not someone who gives to just anyone without expecting something in return. I may be kind and angelic, but I draw the line at people who don't appreciate what they are given. I thought we were close. You are. That's a lie. It's true. If we weren't close, why would I have given you all those gifts without expecting anything in return? Is that so? Does it work that way throughout our conversation? Her eyes wavered, unable to find their focus. She had lifted her head to talk to me, but feeling guilty about just staring at the floor, she seemed to have developed her own timid skill of sorts. Anyway, just call me comfortably Anai. At the word Anai, Jin Sebyok blushed and kept fidgeting with her fingers clasped in front of her chest. And please don't bow deeply like you did earlier. You don't need to go that far. I can fully feel your gratitude. No, no, I should be more grateful. Recently I've been so busy I couldn't even contact you. I was ungrateful, wasn't I? Right? You were disappointed in me, weren't you? I mean, sure, what I gave her in the past amounted to nearly 10 million won, but people can get busy and miss a few calls. It's not like she suddenly cut off all contact because she was busy. Why is she apologizing so much? And no, not at all. You approached me first today, didn't you? There's no reason for me to be disappointed. I should have contacted you earlier, right? I failed to convey my sincerity. Did I make the wrong expression just now? So, with genuine sincerity, no, it's okay. People get busy and can't always stay in touch. I hear you're doing a lot of work these days. Broadcasts and tons of editing. Honestly, I want to tell Jin Sebyok to reduce her workload. The dark circles under her eyes were worse than Young Siwoo's at his peak, and compared to the recently recovered Young Siwoo after Min Ki-won's therapy, they were at a terrible level. Anai, you look completely exhausted. You need to have some time to rest too. That may be true, but she clearly has a definite reason for working so hard, but I don't know what it is. When Jin Sebyok contacted my past self, I only confirmed that Mr. Yoon Guanjial had disowned her before extending a helping hand. Perhaps the reason she asked were we that close is because I never explained my reasons for helping her. Extroverted people who quickly make friends might easily say we're friends, even without knowing much about each other, but the world of introverts is completely different. Just looking at Jin Sebyok and me, although we've known each other for quite a while, we've rarely had serious, heart-to-heart conversations. It was only right after she was disowned that she reached out to me for help. Even my past life self took months to become close with Yoon Ji-chain. Despite what happened with Yoon Ji-yu, it might be difficult to ask her to explain her situation right away, but leaving things as they are, I could clearly see a future where she would collapse from overexertion. This isn't excessive worry. It's based on experience. After recovering from his rib injury, Young Siwoo reduced his sleep and devoted himself obsessively to practice. He abandoned his daily exercise routine and the mental recovery that came from taking baths, blindly focusing only on playing the piano. Then he collapsed properly once. When he opened his eyes, he was in the hospital. The doctor said it was a combination of malnutrition and overwork. When told to rest for a few days, I sighed, asking if I really needed to rest that long. The more urgent you feel, the more your body will deteriorate. It's true that life is short, and it's important to earn money when you can. Unlike company employees with fixed working hours, professionals, especially those in the arts, often run without gauging their limits and end up falling off a cliff. Many creators who value their creative work over their health serve as appropriate examples. Some continue to run even after achieving financial stability. In such cases, without someone to hold them back, their bodies inevitably break down. Alcohol, cigarettes, and junk food may be their good friends, but they also cause health deterioration and shorten lifespans. To protect the health of this person whom Ki-won cherishes, what words can I use to turn the situation around? Right now I have so much editing to do, it's not easy with all the backlogged live stream videos but I don't really trust others to handle it, and it's not easy to ask someone to take it on. I found a clue from what Jin Sebyok said. She needed a lot of money, but she also needed collaboration. Because she was afraid of meeting people. Because communication was difficult. Because she feared that her intentions might be misunderstood and the editing wouldn't go in the direction she wanted. She had been working alone, unable to find an editor who understood her. My past self speaks with a sense of pity. that her reason for coming to Korea wasn't just to meet me. Please save this poor girl, just like young Siwoo. Certainly, there are many ways. I am Min Ki-won, and I have money. I just thought of a good solution. Would you like to hear it? Chapter 97. Proceed. No matter how annoying a little sister might be, one can't help but worry about her future. Planning to dissuade her from joining any questionable company, I contacted Kwon Hang-gil directly last week after Baek Chun-ha passed her first audition. That concludes my introduction. Was that sufficient information about our company? Right after ending the call, I immediately realized how impressive KJ Entertainment truly was. Mr. Kwon Hang-gil was genuinely someone with innate talent as a casting manager. Setting aside complicated matters like liquidity or financial stability, the successful activities of their popular idol group Aegis alone made any other portfolio unnecessary. Additionally, new emerging talents had begun making names for themselves one after another. Stars with KJ Entertainment's unique characteristics were gradually gaining public love and market share. I thought such a company would be trustworthy enough to entrust Baek Chun-ha to them. I was about to end the call with that conclusion. Since you called, may I ask Ki-won one more question? Still seemingly reluctant to let go, Kwon Hang-gil proposed a position to me. Would you perhaps be interested in becoming the center of a new idol group? This group would be the one our company is pushing after Aegis. No. I firmly declined again. Is it because of your main occupation that you mentioned before? Yes. Kwon Hang-gil seemed to have lingering regrets despite my refusal. However, I will never accept his offer. I'm bound to stay by Siwoo's side for at least 3 more years. Only after confirming he's alive and well can I pursue other things I want to do. Above all, at this rate, I'll likely be married to Siwoo by then, making an idol career absolutely impossible. Where in the world would you find a married 22-year-old idol? I'm sorry. You should look for someone else. I understand. I'll hang up now. Ah, by the way, what about VTube? The call ended abruptly, but his unfinished words made me search the internet. Interestingly, KJ was the only major Korean entertainment company that had extended into the VTuber industry, calling it their future food source. Though their task force was recently established, they had already posted recruitment notices for their first generation until the end of June, showing sufficient enthusiasm for the business. However, unlike a few years ago, 2 companies were already firmly dominating the Korean market. Examples included Rystal Idols of the Reverse World and Livestella, VTuber groups discovered and created by internet broadcasters with solid fan bases. KJ was a latecomer jumping into a market where formidable frontrunners were firmly established. Without strong character development and support, they would become obsolete before even gaining a foothold. Perhaps because potential candidates realized this, internet reactions were lukewarm. The internal atmosphere didn't seem good either, with someone presumed to be in charge lamenting on Blind that KJ's first generation seems doomed to fail. That's accurate. Starting from the bottom isn't easy. In such cases, it might be better to bring in individually active VTubers to build a foundation. And coincidentally, I know one excellent candidate. Though still too small to compete with established VTubers, Jin Sae-byok once reached a peak of 4,000 viewers. Above all, she has a distinct character, timid yet explosively reactive when cornered, like a hamster that bites fingers, making her suitable for pioneering as a first-generation member. Looking around, I found that some Kiranukers dedicated fans who watch their favorite VTubers streams live and edit 3-10-minute highlights to promote them had already begun supporting Jin Sae-byok overseas. This was a good sign. Though she couldn't yet compete with the 2 major players in Korea, it meant she had at least secured a solid overseas fan base. Perhaps this could provide wings to KJ, which already had ample experience in overseas marketing and promotion. Moreover, once affiliated with a company, the need for editing would gradually decrease. If the company actively promotes her and Jin Sae-byok directly shouts out her Kiranukers, Kiranukers who recognize her potential would flock to her, eventually eliminating the need for separate editors just like the major Japanese VTuber groups. While this is quite a distant prospect, the supporting company is KJ, isn't it? Even though it's a new business, it's worth trusting. Besides, she's been doing well independently, so if things don't work out, she can simply terminate the contract. This is possible because the most important part of the broadcast, her avatar, belongs to Jin Saebyok. However, after hearing my explanation, Jin Saebyok expressed bewilderment. But if I'm affiliated with a company, I probably won't be able to edit videos for others, right? I think I'd need to focus entirely on broadcasting. Is the income from editing that substantial? She could earn more from donations by increasing her broadcasting days. It seems she's afraid to try because the amount is uncertain. Without understanding her economic situation, I can't help her properly. But it would be strange to press her now when she doesn't fully trust me as a friend. In that case, I should offer her a sweet incentive before asking again. Then, would you like to be a Clert's exclusive editor again? Me, for that channel. Currently, Clert has around 1.2 million subscribers and about 6 million monthly views. With subscriber count and total views increasing by 10% each month, it's essentially a golden goose. Excluding the small subscription and donation revenues I use as pocket money, roughly twice the monthly views accumulate as income, all of which had been donated to charity. Even fans who used to support my past actions now express concern in the comments, asking what will be left for me if I give everything away. It's certainly an appropriate time to reinvest the income. When a shy person struggles with social interactions yet gives their all to personal broadcasting, there must be a reason. I don't wish for her to be in need, but I'm fairly certain that's the case. After all, Jin Saebyok is Jeong Si-woo's bad ending. How about we split the profits 50-50, excluding donation and subscription revenue? Jin Saebyok was startled and waved her hands frantically. What are you saying? That's absurd. Do you know how many subscribers a Clert has? SHH. Your voice is too loud. You're about to announce to everyone around that I'm a Clert's owner. I continued while covering her mouth. Who took the first step? It was you. Without you, we wouldn't have come this far. MMPH. Lower your voice. Jin Saebyok nodded with a pitiful expression. I removed my hand from her mouth and calmly waited for her to speak. Well, that may be true, but is it really okay for me to accept this? What about the person who's been editing your channel? Won't they be completely abandoned? And the other broadcasters I work with? You can't let yourself be held back by constantly worrying about others. Are they paid a monthly salary for editing? And no, it's per project payment. Then it's fine. It's not like you're unilaterally terminating contracts. But there's still a relationship. Does sentiment put food on the table? Take my hand right now if you don't want to collapse from overwork, is what I wanted to shout, but barely restrained myself. I happened to learn a method from Yoon Jae-yu that works well on timid people. I guess I'm not really your friend, huh? No, that's not it. I suppose you might not want to work with me. I hadn't considered that. No. What are you saying? Well, even though we were the first to collaborate, I guess I was the only one who thought we were really close. Jin Saebyok's lips kept mumbling incoherently, and then, as if her mental circuits couldn't handle it anymore, her head drooped onto the table. Thud. No, I'll work with you. Key 1. It might have been a bit cruel, but it worked. I never dreamed there would come a day when I'd be grateful to Yoon Jae-yu. Well, and this is just hypothetical, if the person who made Yoon Jae-yu that way was her father, if she only acted maliciously to win a war against her dad, I might be willing to forgive her. But only if she promises to personally apologize to everyone she's harmed. Really? That's great. Are you that happy? I told you. You're my precious friend. Ugh. Jin Saebyok hesitated but finally accepted and acknowledged that we were friends. Without this opportunity, I would probably have remained just her benefactor for life, never becoming someone she could open up to. I carefully took her hands, which she had been holding together in front of her chest. Contact me when you've wrapped up your existing work and can work with me again. I'd prefer if everything could be settled by the end of this month. This month? There are only 5 days left, yes. When making decisions, it's best to be quick and decisive. Like myself 3 years ago, the longer internal deliberation continues, the more impossible difficult decisions become. I'll be waiting for you. 1,000 emotions cross Jin Saebyok's face, but ultimately culminate in a small heen. This person is truly adorable. Chapter 98. Chicken Game. After sending Jin Sebyok off, I waited for a moment at the ticket box where we had parted earlier. Soon, Siwoo, who had been nearby, returned. That ended quickly. I thought it would take longer since you were meeting a friend after so long. Siwoo was holding a drink in his hand as if it were the most natural thing. It was a refreshing iced tea. I bought it in case you were thirsty from talking so much. My heart ached so badly I almost collapsed right there. Though I realized it wasn't an explosion, I couldn't help my body from freezing up. That's how tremendous the impact Siwoo had on me. This vicious terrorist simply didn't know when to stop. At least you're perceptive. I tried to act composed, but my expression probably gave everything away. Why don't you just honestly say you like it? What are you talking about? I don't like it. You've already drunk half the iced tea. So saying that now I glared at Siwoo with narrowed eyes, silently telling him to stop teasing me since he already knew well enough. PFFD. If you keep acting so smug, I have some ideas too, you know. Irritated by Siwoo's shoulders shaking with laughter, I burrowed straight into his chest. Now I could be this forward. There were no explosives or powder kegs to worry about. Yes, the more aggressive I became, the harder it was for young Siwoo. Feel the maximum guilt of being involved with a minor. Hey, people are watching. Siwoo tried to push me away, but I shook my head and nestled deeper into his chest. How does it feel? Can you sense the stares? Not so easy, is it? When I looked up, he was staring at me with a troubled expression. Well, what did he expect? Did he think I'd let go just because he looked at me like that? I want him to be even more troubled. He should moderate those heart-damaging actions of his. I pressed my cheek firmly against his chest again. Firmly, with no intention of letting go. That's enough. Let go. It's really dangerous. Ignoring him completely, I pressed my chest against his abdomen this time. I could feel Siwoo's body trembling significantly. The fact that he was reacting this much meant that Siwoo was enjoying it too. Despite what he was saying, he probably didn't want me to let go. Even though the public stares were burdensome, he probably wanted to stay like this. I felt something pushing up against my abdomen. I hastily unwrapped my arms from around Siwoo's back and stepped away. Siwoo immediately averted his gaze and buttoned up his cardigan that had been left open. I see. That dangerous thing had just awakened. You don't tell me. Don't ask. Siwoo growled. Not jokingly, but like a real beast. If you keep doing that, I'll eat you. He stopped mid-sentence, seeming to realize what he was saying, and quickly shut his mouth. But for me, it was an excellent opening for a counterattack. Wow. You really would eat me. I frowned as if I'd encountered a flasher on the street. It worked. He seemed to feel guilty as he calmed his excitement and steadied his breathing. As expected, no matter how strong his desires, a few words like this would bring him back to his senses. I really might eat you. Well, guess not. This guy is just a runaway 8-ton truck with broken steering. After hesitating briefly, young Siwoo took a step toward me with an even more frightening expression, as if roaring louder. It's not working at all. I'm only going to lose if I challenge him. Ha! Siwoo sighed, vigorously scratching his head. If you're going to be that scared, why engage in close combat in the first place? Then he approached me as I was backing away nervously and gently stroked my head. I told you not to push yourself. I said I'd take the lead anyway. I wasn't pushing myself. I just got annoyed because Siwoo was being too cocky and teased him without thinking. How was I supposed to know he would respond so frighteningly? Teasing is fine, but don't push too far. You know how much I like you. I could have stayed silent and let the awkward atmosphere pass. But how could I remain quiet when Siwoo said something like that? I had to prove my feelings. I like you more. In front of the ticket box, under the warm, soft glow of the lights, while people bustled around, going about their business, we felt as if we had been transported to another world. It was as if cherry blossoms were in full bloom just around us. Though it was late May, it felt like we had returned to early April. What are you saying? I like you more. No, I've liked you more. After exchanging a few more childish love arguments, we finally acknowledged each other and burst into laughter. Ahahaha. How silly. Fighting over something that doesn't need to be fought over. But why does even this feel so good? My heart must be broken for sure. Manager Kwon Hang-gil turned out to be a surprisingly busy person. It took almost a week after my request to meet before I could finally see his face. But he seemed to feel bad for making me wait and insisted on treating me to a meal, which I had to struggle to decline. After several back-and-forth messages, we ended up meeting at the same spot in the same cafe as before. Is this really okay? Yes. This is enough. I hadn't done anything deserving of repayment, and I had no intention of debuting in the entertainment industry as he had suggested, so one drink was sufficient. After taking a sip of my smoothie, I got straight to the point. Your company has started a VTuber business, right? Ah, yes. I mentioned that. Though it's hardly related to my work, I heard that the recruitment for the first generation isn't going so well. Kwon Hang-gil shrugged, implying that couldn't be true. No way. If you're saying that based on what you saw on Blind, that's just viral marketing. Viral marketing? Yes. Ah, well look, I'm telling you this because I trust you. Don't spread it around. Well, sure, I wondered why it was viral marketing, and it turned out to be a sophisticated strategy. When we say the application rate is low, it encourages talented people who lack confidence to apply. Does that work? Yes. Surprisingly effective. According to Kwon Hang-gil, the world is full of talented people, but those who stand out are surprisingly few. I couldn't help but laugh when he used me as an example. Many people want to debut and succeed, but even more worry about whether they can actually show something worthwhile during an interview. I'm not an expert in the VTuber field, but I'm close with their casting manager, so I can tell you while entertainment industry aspirants are typically confident in showcasing themselves with their looks, physique, and even dancing and singing skills, the VTuber scene is quite different. Usually, characters who are knowledgeable about gaming culture and subcultures tend to be popular, which is why there are surprisingly many introverted people with awkward social skills regardless of appearance. They need to leave their homes to attend auditions and interviews, but even that is difficult for many of them. It would be ideal if experienced individual VTubers with established fan bases applied, but these people tend to avoid joining companies, which is another challenge for the business. Plus, one thing VTuber fans value is mystery. If people can immediately identify who someone is just by their voice, they lose interest. They take the red pill, so to speak. The reason, he explained, is that fans follow the character itself, not the real person behind it. Therefore, VTubers must hide behind their characters and never reveal their real appearance. If someone persistently tries to uncover their identity, fans will often bury such attempts to maintain the secret. These days, some cautiously show just their hands, feet, or torso during broadcasts, but even this is a divisive practice. In Jin Si-byuk's case, she was able to do cooking broadcasts because she had already revealed her physical appearance before debuting as a VTuber. So finding talent isn't easy. Since it's KJ, there was internal discussion about using less popular idols as VTubers, but Kaiju strongly opposed it, saying the industries are completely different. I agree. The needs are different, the fan bases are different. You can't just recycle people. Your colleague seems very dedicated. Of course. He's extremely confident in his field. He actually worked as a manager in this industry for over 5 years in the home country, so he has considerable experience. Kwon Hangil, who had been enthusiastically talking, suddenly seemed to realize something and stopped. Please take the industry talk with a grain of salt. I got carried away. Aren't you trusting me too much? What if I spread everything all over the internet? Kwon Hangil smiled. I know you're not that kind of person. So, why did you suddenly bring up VTubers? I showed him Jin Si-byuk's personal broadcasting channel. She's a friend of mine. She's independent. Right now, she's too busy with editing and broadcasting, and she wants to join a company. Numbers don't lie. Kwon Hangil thoroughly checked Jin Si-byuk's social media, YouTube, and personal broadcasting channel follower counts before making a phone call. While on the call, he briefly put down his phone and asked me, "This person wants to meet in person to talk. Is that okay?" 1. I'd prefer to meet by next week if possible. Kwon Hangil smiled. I don't know why, but this person is really surprised. They're coming right over. Chapter 99. Why aren't you answering the phone? Unlike the slender and nimble Kwon Hangil, his colleague was quite large in build. The man who rushed over after receiving the call immediately bowed his head to the cafe table upon seeing my face. It made a clear, crisp sound. The man raised his head and asked me in a deliberately hushed voice, "Are you a clerk?" He guessed it. Just like that, out of nowhere. Seeing my surprised expression, he handed me a business card. Casting Manager, Oh Jin. Kaiju, a subsidiary of KJ Entertainment's VTuber division. Let's move somewhere quieter. It would be troublesome if someone overheard our conversation and recognized you as a clerk. Grateful for his consideration, I stood up and followed him. How about we continue our conversation over a meal? I'll take you to a nice place that won't be burdensome. Sounds good. Great, then. As Oh Jin left to retrieve his parked car, Kwon Hangil looked at me with resentful eyes and asked, "Really? When I asked you to have a meal, you refused. I'm genuinely not interested in the entertainment industry." While Hangil's dinner invitation was full of ulterior motives, Seok-jin's offer contained consideration for me. That's why I accepted it. We relocated to a beef restaurant. Since this meeting was also about placing Jin Si-byuk with Kaiju under KJ, I left my card at the counter under the pretext of using the restroom. I wanted to prevent them from making various requests if it seemed like they were treating me to a meal. First, let me thank you again. Manager Oh Jin lightly bumped his forehead against the table with a thud for the second time. Curious about why he was so thankful, I asked, "What did I do to deserve such gratitude?" Manager Oh bumped his head against the table again with a thud. His exaggerated behavior almost made me burst into laughter, but I managed to hold it back. It's about Jin Dawn. Actually, we've already tried to contact her several times. But she never answered calls from unknown numbers, so we were about to give up. Then suddenly you, a clerk, appeared and gave us hope. I see. Yes. Jin Dawn. She's flying, right? So all that talk about viral marketing was just a lie, Oh Jin told Kwon Hangil. Judging by their reaction, they probably haven't had many applicants with star potential. Yes, I recommended her. She seemed too busy lately. Whether she'll pass or not depends on the audition, but could I know how successful applicants are treated? Most of that information is in the job posting. I want more detailed information. I need to know for sure to convince her. Oh Seok-jin interlaced his fingers, sighed, and lowered his head. He seemed to be contemplating whether he could disclose internal information. Finding it difficult to decide alone, Oh Seok-jin glanced at Kwon Hang-gil. The two nodded at each other with peculiar expressions. Soon, Oh Seok-jin clapped his hands once. All right. Let's say a clerk has revealed her identity only to us. We'll exchange that secret for this information. Still, he couldn't show me all the materials he had, so Oh Seok-jin selectively shared only the parts I might be curious about. Out of consideration for him, I didn't take any notes. Creating a record might get Oh Seok-jin in trouble for sharing information. Thank you for accommodating my difficult request. No, not at all. You could have pretended not to know earlier, but you deliberately answered that you were a clerk. That's enough for me. Just to be clear, I don't want you giving Jin Don extra points just because we met like this. Don't worry about that. The judges are separate people anyway. I'm just someone frantically searching for good candidates. After saying that, Oh Seok-jin suddenly started fiddling with his phone. He proudly proved that he was a top-tier member of the Alert channel. He hadn't even subscribed hastily just to meet me. His subscription period was a whopping 30 months. He was an early Alert member who had left numerous comments. Ki-won's memory of his username said it all. Wow. But really, why don't you become an idol? At the mention of idol, Kwon Hang-gil burst into laughter and choked. Why are you laughing, sir? Ah, I've already suggested that several times and got rejected. Oh, you refused. I'm sorry for bringing it up unnecessarily. At first, I thought it was nonsense, but as industry experts repeatedly mentioned it, it started to sound more credible. But no matter how suitable this girl might be for being an idol, her true dream is to become Young Si-woo's first and only wife. Therefore, she would never sell her face on broadcasts. Being known to the public would only make life troublesome. How about debuting as a VTuber? Kwon Hang-gil glared at Oh Seok-jin with sharp eyes. Despite their friendship, he clearly didn't appreciate having a promising talent poached. I'm not interested. I figured as much. Kwon Hang-gil agreed as if he'd been waiting for this response, and now it was Oh Seok-jin's turn to look at him resentfully. To be honest, I've been a fan for 3 years, and today I was lucky enough to meet you in person. That's right. Why don't you just reveal your face? I think you'd hit 5 million subscribers in no time. Kwon Hang-gil covered Oh Seok-jin's mouth. What nonsense are you spouting? That would ruin the mystery. Aren't you supposed to be a VTuber casting manager? Well, yes, but you're not going to be a VTuber, right? Then it would be 1,000,000 times better to just show your face. To waste such beautiful looks. Everything he said made sense, but I'm not in urgent need of money, and is there really a need to show this attractive appearance to many people? I don't want to share Ki-won's lovable appearance with others because it should belong only to Young Si-woo. I have my reasons. I'd appreciate your understanding. During the hour-long meal, manager Oh Seok-jin praised a clerk until his lips were sore. The compliments were so excessive that it became embarrassing for me to listen, and eventually manager Kwon Hang-gil had to stuff his mouth with meat to make him tone it down. But wasn't I once a fan of a clerk myself? The praise-filled evaluation was truly pleasant to hear, and I even chimed in a few times. I might have looked like a strange woman praising herself, but a clerk's performances had moved many people. After all, 1.2 million subscribers were proof of that. As we finished our meal and I retrieved my card at the counter, the amount on the receipt was much less than what we had eaten. I was going to treat you. Why are we splitting the bill? Kwon Hang-gil smiled and handed me a piece of candy from a container. It was strawberry flavored. Because of anti-bribery laws, we can't accept free meals. But it must have cost quite a bit. It's fine. We earn enough. Right, Seok-jin? Of course. Honestly, just seeing a clerk in person today is worth at least 500,000 won to me. I told you to tone down the fanboying. No, really. You don't understand how rare it is to see a clerk in person. I smiled as I put my card back in my wallet. They're both good people. They give their best in their work, sometimes boldly diving in, sometimes thoughtfully listening to others' passionate individuals. I get the feeling that anyone who debuts after being cast by people like them is bound to succeed. Manager Kwon Hang-gil, please take good care of Baek Chun-ka. And Manager Oh Seok-jin, please take good care of Jin Don-I-mean, Si-byuk. I bowed my head in gratitude. As Oh Seok-jin started to bow back, Kwon Hang-gil grabbed him by the nape of his neck and pulled him back up. Well then, I hope to see you again sometime. If you ever consider becoming a VTuber, please contact us. Hey, don't pressure her. I'm just leaving the door open. I exhaled deeply after seeing off the two men who disappeared with smiles. The third act in the lives of Baek Chun-ka, who ended her wandering and finally found her path, and Jin Si-byuk, who didn't give up despite economic hardships after being disowned. I wonder what they'll be like. I'm already looking forward to it. Maybe I'll get to see them as early as next year. Hoping that no bad stories would fill their Triwiki pages, I started walking toward the main road to catch a taxi. But when I checked my phone, I had over 30 missed calls. I had put it on silent so it wouldn't disturb the meeting, but who could have called so many? Excuse me. A familiar voice came from behind me. I turned around with a start to find Siwoo standing under a streetlight, staring at me. Oh, what? How did you know I was here? Even though this guy shares the same consciousness as me, it's a bit suspicious that he followed me all the way here. Just as I was about to ask if he had been tailing me, Siwoo strode over and embraced me as if collapsing. You disappeared without saying where you were going, and I was worried. Chapter 100. Eureka. Just as I was about to ask if he had been following me, Siwoo strode over and embraced me as if he might collapse. I was worried when you disappeared without saying where you were going. I stood still, unable to move, enveloped in his large frame. Even if I tried to move, I couldn't break free. Though Siwoo looks slim, he's still a man, and I'm naturally a woman. No, my word choice just now was strange. Anyway, there's nearly a 20 cm height difference between us, and since he has a regular workout routine, the difference in upper body strength is considerable. I'm just a lower body specialist who's good at running. When I'm caught like this, I can't even think about escaping. Aren't you being overprotective? It's not like I went anywhere special. Still, just tell me before you go somewhere. Or answer your phone. You used to find me just fine without me telling you, so why not today? Because today you went somewhere I couldn't find you. Siwoo said he had gone to the cafe where I had met with the managers earlier. But he lost track of me there and couldn't follow me to the restaurant. Well, since Dawn's matter was completely my personal business, it made sense that Siwoo wouldn't have noticed. Hey, I'm just somewhere in Seoul, don't worry too much. It's not like I've been kidnapped. Besides, Kang HWI had told me that I was under 24-hour protection even outside my home. Security guards were supposedly hidden carefully, ready to spring into action at any moment without me noticing. Of course, these days there are people running around stabbing others with knives, so I'd still need to respond somehow to sudden threats at close range. From now on, tell me before you go somewhere. Aren't you being too fussy? Not at all. It's natural to worry about what my girlfriend is doing and where she is. He doesn't need to say girlfriend for me to understand. Though I do like it when he calls me his girlfriend. I understand you're worried, but there's no need to worry that much. And just because we're dating doesn't mean I have to report everything to you. But to me, Siwoo's words felt like excessive interference. Because we know each other so well, even without saying it, I wouldn't do anything problematic. As long as young Siwoo is a reasonable person, that's obvious. I gently pushed Siwoo away. He responded to my force by loosening his arms and sliding back. The pavement block he stepped on rattled. The construction must have been done carelessly. One step away, Siwoo's expression wasn't very pleasant, as if he didn't like what I said. Don't worry. It's not like I'm going anywhere dangerous. I'll use my judgment and let you know. I patted Siwoo's shoulder and gave him a gummy smile. I wanted to reassure him and also break the slightly tense atmosphere. Well, if you say you're fine, then I guess you are. Sorry. I was being nosy. No. Don't apologize. Thanks for worrying about me. Really? Then that's good. So, what exactly did you see? You coming out with two men. Is there something wrong with his head? That makes it sound like I was having some suspicious meeting. I guess that would look strange. Sorry, what did you talk about? I'm sure you just had a meal. Wanting to assure him they weren't bad people, I took out 2 business cards from my wallet and handed them to Siwoo. It's best to be clear about these things to avoid misunderstandings. This one is the person who cast Beek Chinga. This one cast Anuna I know. Anuna you know? Yes, she was an early editor for the Alert channel. She's a VTuber now. It wasn't difficult to explain how I knew them through connections. As I explained each point, Siwoo's expression quickly softened. Because our relationship is built on deep trust, there won't be any misunderstandings in the future as long as we talk face to face properly. Anyway, that's what happened. I didn't connect Beek Chinga myself, but I ended up meeting him because I needed to call manager Oh Seok-jin. You're not becoming a celebrity or anything, are you? What? Me? No way. What kind of celebrity would I be? What Siwoo said next made me break into a broad smile. Don't ever do it. I don't want you to become known to the world. I laughed because it was surprisingly identical to what I had been thinking, but my heart was racing for some reason. Why am I like this? It's exactly what I was thinking earlier. Is there such a big difference between thinking something yourself and hearing it from your boyfriend? So, are you preparing hard for the competition? I'm working hard. Internationally famous competitions are held once every 2 to 4 years, while domestically, 2 competitions await young artists as testing grounds each year. They are the Yumhyun Music Competition with finals in March and the Damyang Music Competition with finals in October. Although these annual competitions are less recognized by the general public compared to international competitions, winning them is not easy. As the 2 major competitions in Korea, an emerging classical music powerhouse, their standards are high, with a wide and demanding range of required pieces. Despite Korea producing many young musicians, the number of competitions is still limited compared to overseas. So the competition is fierce. Me in my past life, I was eliminated in the preliminaries. I couldn't even dream of making it to the finals. There were many performers who might have had less technical skill than me, but had greater appeal to the judges. I'll focus on the Damyang competition until October, and then I want to try for the Chopin competition. Siwoo was setting exactly the same goals as I had in my past life. In my past life, nothing went right after my rib injury, but this time things might be different. I've taken care of all the potential problems, so if he succeeds in finding his color, we can expect good results, but I've memorized all the required pieces and I've even planned the recital program for the finals. The problem is still... Yes, color. That damn color is the problem. Our search for color is still ongoing. Unlike me, who strangely absorbs Min Ki-won's color, Siwoo hasn't completely broken himself down yet. I've thought about what might be the problem from various angles, but the answer doesn't come easily, so both Siwoo and I are deeply concerned. For now, I guess we'll just have to keep playing together like we've been doing. I suppose so. Does your professor have any specific instructions? Always the same. He says once I find my color, everything will work out. For a poor young soul who has mastered technique but struggles to express color, there's only so much a professor can say. The answer must be found on your own. I opened that path first, now it's Siwoo's turn. Still, he's been able to remove color more frequently, like carefully removing Jenga blocks one by one. Siwoo had been succeeding in removing the black water from unexpected places every day. The timing is still unpredictable, so we're putting our heads together and waiting for a clear pattern to emerge. 3 months until the competition. Can he find it by then? If we can't see any change at the Danyang competition, challenging the Chopin competition would be meaningless. Just like I experienced, even if he barely makes it to the finals, he would have to withdraw after receiving harsh feedback from the judges. I've almost finished clearing up everything around us. I need to deal with Yoon Ji-yu appropriately by June and focus on Siwoo. No matter how many problems I've eliminated, if Siwoo doesn't achieve results, there's no point in having been reincarnated. Shall we go home now? I'll walk you. Think why, clatter. As I stretched my foot to take Siwoo's hand, the pavement block shook violently. Whoa! It was the same block Siwoo had stepped on earlier when he backed away. I hadn't paid attention because I was walking while looking at Siwoo. As my body quickly tilted and plunged toward the hard ground, Siwoo grabbed me as I fell and rotated his body sharply. Thud! With a frightening sound, I fell face down on the ground and opened my eyes in shock. Siwoo had fallen before me in an attempt to catch me, and was now underneath me. Are you okay? How soon after his ribs had healed, and now this happens again. Startled, I gently pressed on Siwoo's chest to check his reaction. I was ready to take him to the hospital immediately if he wasn't okay. I'm fine. Nothing's broken. I'm sorry. I didn't see the ground and I said I'm fine. I'm perfectly okay. Siwoo lay spread-eagled on the ground and moved his arms up and down widely. He seemed completely unaffected. Well, that's a relief. I sighed and rested my face on Siwoo's chest. That could have been really bad. Thump, thump. While listening to Siwoo's heart beating loudly, silently praying that he would never get hurt again, it happened. Hey, wait a minute. Suddenly, like Archimedes discovering the thief of public funds, Siwoo sat up abruptly with a bright smile. He looked like he might shout Eureka at any moment. I think I've realized something. Realized what? How to find my color, he said with a voice full of conviction. Let's go on a pension trip. To that place where you always film your videos. Chapter 101, Open Book Test. I think I've realized something. Realized what? How to find my color. He spoke with a voice full of confidence. Let's go on a pension trip. To that place where you always film your videos. I was about to ask him exactly what he had realized, but seeing his expression so full of hope, I just smiled instead. I believed that if it was something so joyful he would naturally share it with me. Sure enough, Siwoo opened up with complete honesty, hiding nothing. When I'm with you sometimes my heart feels all tingly. Yeah. At those moments I feel like the color drains away a little. I see. Wait, what? Is that even possible? Young Siwoo was a much more amazing talent than I thought. I suppose it's only natural for someone who can already selectively drain black liquid from a specific block in a haphazardly stacked Jenga tower. He may not have his own color, but when it comes to dedication to playing, he's second to none. How impressive, Siwoo. You really are amazing. I patted his shoulder vigorously with sincere admiration. That's fantastic. Well done, young Siwoo. What? Don't suddenly flatter me like that. Why should I be strict instead? Like the professor? Siwoo, what are you doing? You haven't improved at all since yesterday. Even though it wasn't very similar, Siwoo laughed hysterically. You could make it as a professional impersonator someday. At least everyone at our school would crack up. It doesn't sound like him at all. Yes, it does. You must have observed the professor for a long time. The way you remember even the tiniest details. I'm a master copycat, aren't I? It's only natural. That's right. Honestly though, You admit it too, right? If we had videos of our favorite teachers performing, people would say Liszt had been reincarnated. That's just copying, so what? Who else in the world can perfectly recreate someone else's performance? Drew, you're right. It's amazing. I think it's amazing too. The conversation never stopped. As if we had been waiting only for this time to talk. We had never had difficulty conversing before, but now look. We approached each other without watching each other's reactions, without fearing getting closer, without hesitation, without burden, without restraint. You're amazing. No, you're more amazing. I heard your new Tube subscribers reached 1.3 million? Ah, no, that's just because I'm a fraud, hey. Do you think just anyone can reach 1.3 million? That's a difficult number to achieve even in classical music. Well, that's true. Neither Siwoo nor I blushed and ran away. As we continued our relay of compliments, we eventually became embarrassed and fell silent. Should we stop now? Let's do that. So this is what it feels like to engage in self-praise split between two people. It feels good to keep receiving compliments, but thinking about it as if I'm talking to a mirror makes it feel strange. While it's nice to comfort each other to avoid becoming stubborn narcissists, we also need time to view each other objectively. Since we know each other's flaws as well as strengths, we should occasionally have some harsh conversations too, to avoid becoming like an 8-ton truck with broken steering. Siwoo won't get sulky anymore when criticized like before. His confidence has improved a lot, and above all, his favorite Min Ki-won is here supporting him firmly. Young Siwoo won't crumble now when hearing harsh words. He won't be intimidated in front of Song Seong-hyuk. He'll stand tall before anyone. He'll accept criticism as criticism, straightforwardly. But you know what? Finding your color. You haven't even taken a proper step yet. So the compliments end here. I thought it would be fine, but was it still too powerful an attack for the young Siwoo from 3 years ago? I guess so. As if struck by a solid anvil, Siwoo hunched his upper body. The pension trip is a kind of change of pace. Even though we became lovers, we always did the same things. Walking Strelka in the morning. Playing the piano together when young Siwoo visited during free time. Occasionally eating out together. That was the extent of our dates. While it's a time when just seeing each other's face every day is nice, these activities, though pleasant, don't really leave lasting memories. The only proper dates we had were sitting in couple seats at the movie theater to get rid of Beek Chunga and going to the Seoul Arts Center to see an orchestra performance for a real date. Coincidentally, both times were abruptly ended by unexpected intruders. It's like we were making progress, but without proper closure, things ended ambiguously. So that's probably why Siwoo suggested it. Going on a pension trip to create new memories. But I don't understand why he chose the place where we go to film videos every 2 weeks. Young Siwoo, you've never seen photos of the inside, right? Me, nope. Young Siwoo, it's no joke. Young Siwoo, it's an exact replica of a European house. Young Siwoo, you'll probably feel as comfortable as if you were at home. Me, I already feel like I'm in Europe. Me, photo in the selfie taken sitting on the bed. Gangwei was making a V sign while cleaning the room. Young Siwoo, that's true, but, Young Siwoo, still, it's something different. Young Siwoo, it'll definitely be good. Young Siwoo, and Young Siwoo, before we go, practice the Fantasia for 4 hands for me. Oh, the score you gave me. Young Siwoo, yes, Fantasia for 4 hands. A piece that Schubert reportedly composed while dreaming of a rendezvous with his favorite student Caroline. Ironically, the composer himself never fulfilled that dream. A sad epilogue accompanying the piece. Young Siwoo, during the day we can play in the valley and have barbecue. Young Siwoo, at night, after sunset, let's play together. Young Siwoo, I'm looking forward to it. He must be so excited about going on a pension trip with his first girlfriend. Siwoo's messages clearly revealed his fluttering emotions. When your heart feels tingly, the color drains away, huh? Then I'll help you more. I'll make you feel even more tingly. But if I overdo it, Siwoo might go overboard like before. How can I naturally make Siwoo's heart flutter? Should I buy and read women's dating books? Young Siwoo, I'll prepare everything we need, so you just practice the duet. Young Siwoo, okay? Young Siwoo, you said you practice for almost a week for those videos you upload every 2 weeks while I'm worrying about Siwoo. He's worrying about me. Look at that, even our timing for thinking about each other is exactly the same. Me, sure Tilda actually, I don't practice. I haven't told him I came from 3 years in the future, and I just made the excuse that I'm working hard because it seemed like I was having too much fun. Because Min Ki-won's performance was perfect, I receive praise just by imitating her. Of course, I am starting to worry about the future these days. 2 years from now, will I be able to stop uploading to YouTube like Ki-won did in my previous life? Even remembering how much I and countless fans deeply regretted Ki-won's hiatus, I'm starting to overthink things. Me, thanks for being considerate, me, but you know it's almost the end of the semester, right? Young Siwoo, don't worry, I'll prepare for the practical exam on my own. Young Siwoo, and anyway, if I can't find my color, I'll get the same score as usual if only the pension trip could have been before the final practical exam. Me, by the way, did you know? Young Siwoo, me, they say the pension is only available on June 26-27, me, it's fully booked before and after those dates. Young Siwoo, damn, so it's almost certain that Young Siwoo's practical exam result for his first semester of freshman year will be a B+. Increasing our dates might help him realize something faster, but it's not just about the practical exam, it's Siwoo's time that's lacking, not mine. Of course that's natural. As a freshman, he not only has mandatory courses like Western music history and score reading, but he also added art history as an elective because he didn't want to waste credits. Score reading should be fine given his years of reading music. The real issues are Western music history and art history. Outside of practical performance practice, he essentially has to become a history student. While it's enjoyable to learn about the classical masters I love, having to read and understand their music makes it hellish, contrary to expectations. Thinking about what I could do for young Siwoo, who would be busy studying without rest for at least 3 weeks, I came up with a decent idea. Me, want to study at my place? Me, I'll help you study. Me, I can point out potential questions while we go through the books. Me, wouldn't that help you memorize things faster? He must have thought it was a good suggestion, as his reply came very quickly. I could almost imagine his goofy grin through the phone. Young Siwoo, that sounds exciting. Young Siwoo, it's something I've always wanted to do. Young Siwoo, studying together for exams. Me, then until the exam I'll help review or playing and help with exam prep. Me, more time together, that's nice. Right. One of my small wishes was to go to the library and study with my girlfriend. Young Siwoo, ha 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 ha, a cozy study date in my room, which is even quieter than a library. You must be dying of happiness, Siwoo. Is your body spontaneously emitting pink? Me, who knows? Me, maybe all the questions I pick will appear on the exam. Young Siwoo, what are you saying? Lol. If Siwoo studies hard without getting distracted, I plan to give him a reward. Since I have good memory and came from 3 years in the future, I remember almost all the questions that will be on the freshman first semester final exam, and a plus is practically guaranteed. Chapter 102. I had the same thought as you? A loud girl's shout echoed throughout my spacious room. Thank Yaowu. The sound scattered across the wide space, reverberating several times. I invited her to my home because I had a feeling she might prostrate herself on the ground again if we met outside, and sure enough, it's okay. Please get up, but I'm just so grateful. Jin Sebyok once again performed a full bow on the rug in my room today. I wondered why she liked hitting the floor hard enough to make a thudding sound, but apparently she often does this during her streams. She said that after repeatedly doing actions that her viewers enjoy, she instinctively drops her head to the floor in similar situations. She told me she was surprised because despite watching many VTubers, she hadn't seen anyone with reactions to donations as intense as hers. Could it be that Manager Oseokjin's habit of banging his head on the table was something he picked up from Jin Sebyok? I had a really good talk with Manager Oseokjin. He said he's such a big fan of mine I didn't know how to react, so I just banged my head on the floor again. How could anyone not become a fan when she reacts so adorably to everything? Besides, the VTuber avatar that Kiwon prepared for her is seriously overpowered. Why do only hamsters get to have hamster ears? They look this cute on a human head too. Did your audition go well? So far I've only done a preliminary interview. I'm not sure if I did well. I rambled so much. Talked way too much about myself. What if I don't make it? You'll make it, don't worry. If I said that, it would sound like I was confirming her employment. To avoid putting Manager Oseokjin in an awkward position, I need to carefully navigate this conversation. Oseokjin did say, we absolutely must recruit Jindyun. But if that leaked externally, it could cause problems not just for him but for Kaiju and their parent company, KJ Entertainment. But Kaiju desperately needs Jindyun as part of their first generation. The first generation has the highest chance of failure, but with Jindyun, who already has a solid fan base providing stability, the other members would benefit from the trickle-down effect and have a foundation to grow together. I don't know much about the VTuber market, but from what I've researched, the harmony among VTubers from the same generation seems very important, similar to the crew concept among regular streamers. There's something enjoyable about teasing Jin SSI. So I tease her, but not too much. I'm thinking of preparing members who can do that. Having regained confidence with Jindyun's participation, Oseokjin expressed hope that there would be suitable candidates among the applicants. Even if there weren't, he was confident he could use Jin Sebyok as bait to attract them. He said he was preparing 3 types: someone who teases verbally, someone who playfully bullies her in games, and someone who clings to her too much and makes things awkward. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I'll fail the audition? Does it seem that way to you too, Kiwon SSI? It's definitely going to be fun. It's hard to find someone as satisfying to tease as her. If she just took it passively, it would be sad, but she occasionally strikes back with a factual retort that knocks her opponent down, making laughter inevitable. Of course, the other first-generation members will also have top-notch reactions when teased. They need to collapse after being hit by Jindyun SC's sharp remarks. That kind of back and forth is really important. When you get hit, can you just stay still? You have to hit back. Give and take. Endless banter that makes viewers immersed. As her older sister figure, I shouldn't keep teasing her, but I can't help playing pranks on her. I'm a bit worried about you. You adjust when she looks like she's about to cry, aha. Just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't joke like that. She brightens up again with just a word, but aren't you really worried? Is it just me? You Wang. Then she frowns again and taps my shoulder repeatedly. She's just so fun and cute. Anyway, can I entrust you with editing my videos starting from July? Yes, of course, assuming you pass the audition. What if I don't make it? Then I guess I can't. I see. No. I want to do it for you. I'd like to, but time is no. Even if I have to give up everything else. I'll definitely edit your videos, Kiwon SSI. Barely holding back laughter that threatened to burst out, I rested my chin on my hand and nodded. It's okay. Let's talk about it again when the time comes. Just come over comfortably like today. Okay. Since you're here, would you like to see my dog? Wow. I'd love to. I want to give him treats. Ganghui, do we have beef jerky? Ganghui left, saying he'd bring some right away. I jumped up and extended my hand to Sebyok. It feels like I'm doing to Sebyok what Siwoo used to do to me, but I'm only doing it because she reminds me of a cute hamster. Ha, hand BFFD. I can't hold it in. Why is she saying hand while taking my hand? Why did you say hand just now? Jin Sebyok is truly talented. Ah, no. I just did it without thinking. She's a genius at making people laugh with her cuteness. That's why every time I see this lovable girl, I feel anger toward someone. How could you have thought about giving up such a child? Mr. Yoon Guanchal. After starting a real relationship, Siwoo changed once again. I looked it up, and sitting side by side like this, if you're asking if he became more mature, I'd have to say no. And sitting face to face like this while studying gives a different feeling. Siwoo became more childlike. You could say he started showing signs of someone who grew up without enough love. Also, they say studying while sharing earbuds and listening to the same music is good too. This is just self-deprecating criticism. If I say I show signs of growing up without parents, who could argue with that? Okay. Do whatever you want. Then let's sit side by side and study first. Sure. Rest your shoulder against mine. Do I have to? You have to. I heard libraries get packed during exam periods. Our school might be quiet since there aren't many students and everyone's busy preparing for practical exams, but other places are crazy. I see. If we were sitting shoulder to shoulder like this in a library, I feel like some single person on the verge of becoming a magical girl would come running to drop kick us. Or is that just me? For now, Siwoo should be grateful that we're in my room at my house with no one else around. But seriously, where did you get this desk? It's the kind you'd only see in university libraries. A desk where 6 people can sit facing each other, with power outlets, USB ports, and adjustable lamps in the center. Where did I get it? I asked Gangwei to procure it in advance. Doing this at Hanny University's library would invite public outrage, so I prepared it to recreate the experience at home. It's one of those special things I want to give Siwoo that I mentioned before. I have my ways. Well, I like it. It really feels like we're in a university library. Not just any library. An Austrian library. Siwoo looked around my room, nodded, and smiled. The white marble background with gold interior details strongly evokes Europe, but not just any part of Europe. It's essentially where royal families would reside. This isn't a university library, it's a royal palace library. His comment matches my thoughts exactly. That's us for you. I was just thinking the same thing. Hee hee. Pleased that our minds were in sync, I smiled and pressed my shoulder against his, but Siwoo's body suddenly stiffened. His shoulder turned rock hard, and when I looked up, I found him staring intensely at the book on the desk. What's wrong? Just got a bit excited just now. I barely touched you and you're acting like this. Why are you being more girlish than me? Well, it's true that there's a bit of Min Ki-won inside Siwoo. After our body-swapping experience, we each left fragments of ourselves in each other before returning to our original bodies. Just as I sometimes act boldly like a strong woman, Siwoo, who usually tries to assert his alpha male presence around me, occasionally shows this girlish side. I understand. Wait, let me play this feeling right now. What? Hey, what about studying? In a bit. With that, Siwoo rushed to the annex where the piano was located, and about 5 minutes later, returned even faster and sat across from me. Was that helpful? I pointed to the last part Siwoo had been looking at, turning the book 180 degrees so he could see it from across the table. Siwoo, seemingly uninterested in the book, suddenly pushed the textbook back to me and said, "Quiz me on something from that book." Anything is fine. So I'm asking if it was helpful. Answer me. The number at the bottom right of the open textbook was 10. I picked up a thick book next to me and lightly hit Siwoo's head with it. You've only read 10 pages and you're asking for a quiz like you've done some great studying? Oh, hey. You're making me forget what I memorized. What did you memorize? There's nothing to forget. Since I only planned to share the exam questions with Siwoo if he studied hard, I needed to push him to study more diligently. Let's do this. Read the whole book, and if you get more than half of the 10 questions I ask right, I'll do what you want. Why should I? Come on, please. There he goes, acting like a child again. Seriously, not half, 8 correct answers. Not easy, but I'll try. So, what do you want me to do? Siwoo raised his eyebrows and said, "Tell me you like me 10 times. I raised the book again to aim at his head, but this time Siwoo easily blocked it. With half-moon eyes, I raised the bar, only if you get all 10 correct. No way. How can I do that? Chapter 103, A Woman So Different. Siwoo continued to make all sorts of requests after that. Let's go out for coffee together. Let's take a walk to refresh ourselves. He wanted to pull an all-nighter studying and asked me to prepare energy drinks. He tried to do everything a lover would do during exam period, until I eventually got tired and had to kick him out first. I'm glad I told him a week before the video upload that I needed time to practice piano. Otherwise, that guy might have stuck around at our place throughout the entire exam period instead of going home. Gang, we desperately tried to convince me to set up another bed in my room, but sleeping together is still off limits. On my first day as Kiwon, I fell asleep in the same room without thinking. Looking back now, he was quite the sly fox. He even boldly took a bath. It's not that I dislike spending time with Siwoo. The problem is that since we started dating and holding hands became natural, my body keeps wanting something more. It's not just men who feel this way. When a woman holds hands, she wants to hold the wrist. When she holds the wrist, she wants to grab the forearm. The desire to possess gradually extends to other parts. Ah, so this is female hormones. This feeling of wanting to give everything to the man you like. My instincts tell me to pounce and make him mine, but I can't yet. Even Siwoo is carefully not showing his desires outwardly, so why should I be the first to reveal mine? He didn't declare he would take the lead for nothing. He's trying to take things step by step because he knows that if I accidentally rush things, it would be difficult for him to exercise restraint too. Right. I need to stay calm. Even though my desire to push Siwoo down grows stronger every day. For now, I should be satisfied with holding hands, leaning on his shoulder, and putting our heads together. But someday, his hands will touch my neck, stomach, and thighs. A little rehearsal wouldn't hurt, would it? If he tries to speed things up beyond his plan, I should be the one to stop him. What if I know nothing and then suddenly lose control? If neither of us tries to stop, the outcome is obvious. The law doesn't prohibit relationships between a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old, but men have their conscience. Even though it's just a 1-year difference, once you become an adult, a minor feels like an enormous wall. I don't want to trigger that guilt in Siwoo. No, wait. I came from 3 years in the future. That means I'm 23 touching a 19-year-old. That's even worse. No, absolutely not. What rehearsal? That's just an excuse to touch my body, you dirty, wretched self. I thrashed around on the bed, messing up my hair, and suddenly found myself at the edge of the mattress. Who? If the canopy curtain hadn't caught me, I would have passionately kissed the marble floor. I grabbed the canopy curtain, whimpering, and climbed back onto the bed. Lying spread eagle and staring at the canopy ceiling, I couldn't help but sigh. Damn it, what am I doing? I pressed my face into a large pillow and thought. Instead of wasting time on useless thoughts, I should focus on how to help Siwoo find his color quickly. During exam periods, the instrumental music department at Hana University takes turns using Baekjunjin Hall. There's only one reason they use a hall without an audience for practical exams: the professor's kind consideration for students to adapt to the stage for their future. So during exam periods, departments take turns using the auditorium and hall. This semester, The violin department got to use Beekjunjin Hall on Monday. Thanks to that, Yoon Ji-yu finished her exams earlier than others. Her major required courses and general electives were all scheduled for last Thursday and Friday. It's so nice to finish exams early. Now I get to eat shaved ice and chat with Kiwon. She calls it a shaved ice party, but it's basically an announcement that she plans to use me throughout the summer vacation. Wasn't Yoon Ji-yu the one who conveniently caught young Siwoo when he was devastated after failing his final exams in the first semester? Because of her, Siwoo from 3 years ago couldn't manage his own schedule until October, when Ji-yu's competition was scheduled. It was understandable that Siwoo, who suffered from severe validation deficiency, couldn't shake off Ji-yu, who kept praising him as the best performer. But throughout his second and third years, just thinking about that summer and fall of his freshman year made his teeth grind. For a while, even the sound of a violin gave him headaches, and on days when he heard that Ji-yu was doing well, his trauma was so severe he couldn't even touch the piano. To make matters worse, Siwoo from 3 years ago will also part ways with Kiwon next spring. How desperate must he have been? Not only was he furious about being manipulated, but the lighthouse of his life suddenly disappeared too. How could he have any motivation to live life earnestly? From that day until his senior year, young Siwoo's life was constantly downhill. It felt like riding a covered water slide with no end in sight. That's why I can't forgive Yoon Ji-yu. I need to keep exacting even small revenges to feel satisfied. Just then, actually I have something unfortunate to tell you today. Yoon Ji-yu started to take the bait. Is this finally it? The moment she reveals her sharp fangs to me, just as she did to young Siwoo? The angel-faced girl is starting to show her true colors. I want proper revenge too, so go ahead and draw your hidden blade. My father. He's looking for you. You've met him before, right? But contrary to my expectations, Yoon Ji-yu once again used her father as a shield. She naturally brought up her father while claiming she did nothing wrong. Why your father? Yes. He said he wants to talk to you. Emmy. Why? Well, with a troubled expression, Ji-yu scratched her cheek for a while before muttering. He wants you and me to form a duet. This was completely different from what I expected. Is this happening because she sees me as overlapping with Jin Si-byuk? But before, in my previous life, Ji-yu came to find me as soon as her competition ended, spewed every possible venomous remark, and disappeared. In less than 10 minutes of conversation, my mental state shattered multiple times. What? Because I'm the runner-up in the Paganini competition, you want the same treatment? PFFD. What are you saying? What have you ever done? I've had many people accompany me, not just you. You were just one of my many toys. Didn't you realize that yet? Siwoo, please wake up. I made you work for nothing. I made you waste your time. I took all your resources. Don't you get it yet? You idiot. That's why you couldn't even confess to the girl you like. Faced with her barrage of insults, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't. Because it was all true. I was completely fooled by her promise to connect me with Kiwon, acting as if I were something special to Ji-yu. When she won second place in the Paganini competition, I was as happy as if I had won second place myself. For all the time I spent on Ji-yu, I couldn't spend that time on myself and Min Kiwon. I was an idiot, just as she said. But why? Is it because I became Min Kiwon? Or is it because my approach is different? What exactly made Yoon Ji-yu like this? Deejueki seems to know you're free now. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought you home that time. Ji-yu rubbed her face with both hands, clearly showing her frustration. Father seems to think I'll definitely place in the competition now. His confidence is excessive. Haha. Right? Ji-yu lightly stroked the top of my head and said quietly, no matter what my father says, tell him you don't have time. That it's absolutely impossible. I've tried to persuade him several times, but he won't listen. That's why I have no choice but to bring you. But I can't say such things. Don't worry. I'll support you from the side. See, can't I just not go? I'm as scared. If you don't go, he's the type who will come find you himself. Am I being deceived? But she looks too sincere for that. Maybe she keeps testing me because I'm hiding too much. Like with young Siwoo, I should show everything I can. That way, Ji can also clearly sink her teeth into me. I thought I